Hello.
Hey,
How's it going?
going good. So we're going to talk about rethinking hunter-gatherers and understanding that there was complex hunter-gatherers and not really simple hunter-gatherers, or if there were simple people, they still had complex, often cultural systems.
Right.
So, is it still right to call them simple?
Yeah.
You get my point. I'm saying that like sometimes they could be, naked and yet they have, chieftains and totemisms and slaves and all kinds of rituals, and
Yeah.
and
Very complex social structures.
right, really complex hierarchies and and everything.
Yeah.
And yet, just because they're naked, they're judged as somehow, barbaric. You get my point I'm saying?
For sure.
Because I really want, like I said, this whole thing is, I really care about, we need to stop that and look at them as an equal culture.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Naked, what the fuck does that do anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get what I'm trying to say is that, because I feel like some people like want to idolize them as like some pure thing or whatever. I think that's a wrong, impression also.
Right.
That kind of like idealizing them.
Yeah. Yeah. The noble savage thing.
There you go. Right. The noble savage, which is, just practically racist bullshit. But
yeah.
But I also, like I said, I think that the other way, they're not really respected as an equal kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And especially, like I said, because they're naked. Like the reason I was just mentioning the naked though, because I just watched, because I constantly actually watch, tons of stuff about what I'm studying because,
right.
I really care about understanding. So there's stuff I don't, have put in the blog or I don't talk about. Doesn't mean I'm not learning more myself, like be way beyond what I, offer others. Anyways,
sure.
But I was watching stuff on Brazil because I had written 2 blogs on Brazil. Because once again, I want to know. I know where the religion came from. I want to find out what it happened where it went.
Yeah.
Right. Plus, like I said, we're going to do that too.
Right.
And then I'm just currently I'm was doing art for the blog I'm going to do on Australia, Papua New Guinea, and New Zealand.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, indigenous people, of course. I'm not talking about, me. Wasn't even mentioning those contexts, about anything but indigenous. So, because I want to do the religion of indigenous people, the culture, how their ideas, which I had forgotten that the New Zealand Islanders, the natives, the Maori, that they had a sky god and an earth mother, just like every fucking buddy
right,
else.
Yeah.
But I already knew they were connected to all go back to China, and then of course China goes to Siberia, and there you go. But not Graham Hancock's, theory. No,
right.
Chinese migrated or ancient people that were in China, because some people don't like the word the Chinese. That's some kind of new thing. But the people that were there, they migrated down and become Maori. So Polynesians, all that. Anyways, of course, it's like 3,500 years ago or something. But
right,
I think the Maoris, like they get there like 300 years ago or 500.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't remember exactly. Maybe 700, 800. But I don't think it's over 1,000.
Oh,
but anyway, that doesn't matter. I'm just making a comment. But I'm just saying, it's just funny how where they come from, and of course they have totem poles and totemism and complex stuff and chieftain. Oh yeah, of course. And and you're like, and shamanism too, right? Yes. Oh, and paganism, because they have to have multiple deities. Oh yeah, they're like, oh yeah, okay, great, got it. Animism too. Yep, animism. Oh yeah. It's all of it. That's why I said too, I really don't like when people like say like animism, like it's something always by itself.
Right.
To me, animism is in all religion. It's just sometimes more evident in some as opposed to others, but that has to do with paganism a lot of times. When we think of world religions, I'm talking about. It's hidden because the deity became so important
Right.
You forget about how, well, don't they believe in spirits and and basically spells and magics and I mean,
Yeah.
did not Moses tap things with a stick? I mean, why?
Yeah. It makes me think of a podcast I was listening to recently where they're talking about different religions and whatnot, and they're like, but we all get ghosts. Like all of us, no matter what religion we all have ghosts.
Well, because animism has ghosts.
Exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
I go, I know why.
Let me let you in a little secret. All the religions are built on a foundation of animism.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so I was watching a thing about the uncontacted people, and they're being pushed out of there. That's what they said, because they spoke sort of similar, almost, but they're also doing hand signs and stuff. But they were speaking almost like a similar, close to, but they had to translate it because they didn't actually. The people that did it when they were there, they didn't totally get it. Because they're in other words, what I mean is, I know you don't know. An indigenous tribe, an anthropologist was with an indigenous tribe. Okay. And the indigenous tribe spoke a language very different, but they could a couple words kind of understand. Anyways, a tribe that came out of that was uncontacted. In other words, one indigenous tribe was contacted that the anthropologist was with.
Mm-hmm.
That they could communicate. They had a translator or whatever, but they could communicate. And then the indigenous tribe, not the translator, but the indigenous tribe could kind of, they went out and met sort of like and gave bananas, whatever, to these naked, completely naked, men and women, tribe that is uncontacted.
Okay.
Or was uncontacted until, of course, then.
Right.
And they learned later what he was like trying to say something. One of the people, they didn't know, and they have bow and arrows and stuff. People have been killed before.
Right.
And the uncontacted person was doing something, and then they found out later what he was saying is scary or whatever, big people coming, killing in us, we need help.
Oh, geez. Wow.
Right. And they were talking about is the fucking people that are cutting the trees down.
Oh.
So they're going into indigenous land. People are naked. They don't have fucking weapons, but sticks and whatever. People have machine guns that are freaking.
But the forestry industry is going through and tearing down their shit.
Yeah. Illegally.
Of course.
They're illegally because they're not supposed to go in there, and but the natives can't really stop them. You know what I'm saying? Anyways.
Yeah.
Well, not all natives. Some natives actually go with machine guns back and take care of things, but these indigenous, anyways, I was saying they came out, right, and then later they showed, like a couple months later, whatever. I guess they had come back, or somebody had come back, one of the people, and now they kind of were talking to him, and he had clothes on and wasn't naked anymore, right? And they said, well, why did you come? And he said, I wanted clothes. So
okay.
He said, I wanted clothes. And maybe because he saw that as people with power. Maybe. Who knows? Or maybe just, anyways, but they were saying, they're not supposed to really contact these people or like help them or do stuff, and unless they really want it. And I was like, yes, I totally agree. If people want, because I think that, like, there's some people are like, oh, it's so sad that now he has clothes on, and anyway. So I'm saying some people, because they idolize these primitive, right? That's the problem too.
Right.
Which is fucked up, right? They both idolize the primitive, and yet actually treat the primitive people bigotedly. It's bizarre, right?
Yeah.
It's fucking bizarre. You'd think, well, then primitive people probably get fucking all kinds of. No, they don't get shit. They're taking advantage of like almost the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So, and another thing too, like the tribe that the anthropologist was with, right? The indigenous tribe that had just, I don't know if it was I don't remember how long, but not that long. I think within that their lifetime, whatever, had gone from the jungle also and come in, like 30 people or something. And they said that the women do a lot of prostitution.
Oh, okay.
And they said this one person felt bad, like, oh, they're being taken advantage of. So that the people were saying they felt like these women were being taken advantage of or being hurt in some way, like harmed. The one anthropologist says, yeah, but you could also understand from their perspective, they have no opinion about sex other than it's just something people do.
Right. They don't have
it's just something that you do. It's like climbing or cleaning, whatever, cooking.
If you go in and you feel like they're being taken advantage of, maybe you're imposing your own kind of religious worldview onto
your
them.
Religion.
Right?
They have. They said they doesn't buy this. No big deal.
They don't care. It's nothing to them.
Like nothing to them. I'm just so.
Yeah.
I was just saying. So it's interesting how people want to both protect them, bring them in, and then tell them what the fuck to do. Right?
Yeah.
Fucking fascists. Just let them be.
Yeah.
What do they want? They want clothes. Cool. Give them clothes.
Yeah.
They want.
That's right.
Medicine. Great. Let's give them medicine.
Let's give them some medicine.
But they want their kids to go to school, which they did say that. Great. Okay. Send them to school. Wonderful. Yep. Tell them what to do. Fuck no.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? The fuck? Especially about dumb shit. They choose to use their bodies in whatever they want. In their culture, they have zero problem with that. Just
right.
They're like, cool, money, whatever, But I'm just saying that so I feel like this hunter-gatherer I was telling you before, this hunter-gatherer thing, really understanding them as a equal culture, I know equal people.
Go figure, eh? Yeah.
So I feel like we don't start with that, or it feels to me like people are not starting with that. I can't judge what everyone's thinking, but
their actions seem to indicate that they're not starting with this is an equal person to me.
Right? Because just think like in different areas, people have different opinions. Like if you say someone's doing prostitution in America, right? And then they're like, oh, you say, well, actually, it's at the Bunny Ranch or whatever, which is in Las Vegas, in Nevada somewhere. I don't remember exactly where, but it's in Nevada, I think, or whatever. So anyway, some prostitution in Nevada where it's legal, they'll think, oh, well, differently of it because it's legal.
Right.
So it literally doesn't matter about the behavior as much as it is it legal? And then, so, yeah. I mean, so I'm just making a comment that I really don't like also, that people imposing your fucking shit on other people when they're doing what they want.
Yeah.
This is that, right? That's the hard thing for an anarchist. Are they doing what they want? Yes. Well, then what the fuck?
Then that's good. Yeah, as long as what they're doing isn't imposing on anyone else, then you're good, right?
Yes, I agree. Anyways.
Yeah.
So, but I thought it was sad to me was that people were questioning should they help them when they're asking for help.
Well, if they're asking for help, then you give them help.
Right? Yeah, right. As me as anarchists, what do you mean should we help them? What the fuck?
This is a nonsense question, right?
Right. To me, it's nonsense. I agree with you. What? Of course you help them. Well, should we also give them medical? Are you fucking kidding me? God damn. You get my point, Corey. It's just because once again, like I said, I think it goes back to they need to keep them primitive.
Right.
Because that's some sacred, whatever, unchanged bull, anyways. And there's a lot of, like I said to you before, there's a lot of things that these, indigenous people, even the ones that are naked, are doing that are actually beneficial, like understanding how to be in the trees and forests and be with nature. And, like we're going to read about how important trees are. So the article you're doing is, of course, the Rethinking Hunter-Gatherers.
Yes. But we're down quite a ways.
I'm going to go down to where it says daycares in Finland grow forest and it changed kids' immune systems.
All right. So daycares in Finland grew forests and it changed kids' immune systems. Playing through the greenery and litter of mini forests undergrowth for just 1 month may be enough to change a child's immune system, according to an experiment in Finland. When daycare workers rolled out a lawn, planted forest undergrowth, such as dwarfed heather and blueberries, and allowed children to care for crops in planter boxes, the diversity of microbes in the guts and the skin of the young kids appeared healthier in a very short space of time. Compared to other city kids who play in standard urban daycares with yards of pavement, tile, and gravel, 3, 4, and 5-year-olds at these greened up daycare centers in Finland showed increased T cells and other important immune markers in their blood within 28 days. Pretty good.
Right. Science says that, we should actually go back to being more a part of nature.
Yeah, that's right.
It's right. Not wokeism either. It's just fucking science.
Yeah. We also found that the intestinal microbiota of children who received greenery was similar to the intestinal microbiota of children visiting the forest every day, explained environmental scientist Marja Rosland from the University of Helsinki in 2020 when the research was published.
But I think that also means it's a damn good thing for kids to go walking in the damn forest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to get out of the city, right?
Right. They just promoted walking in the forest as well. Like,
yeah,
you don't have to be in Finland and build your own thing. You can just, walk in the forest.
Yeah, for sure.
Just go be crazy. Just go be in nature. Which is why I think parks and them being really flourishing in areas that are concrete are super important. I lived in an area where we had what was called Mile Square Park. And it had all kinds of stuff. It was really nice in California because really everywhere else was just pavement.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like in Regina here, we have quite a few parks in the city that have some nice trees and stuff. And there's playgrounds where kids can go and play and there's, trees around them and stuff. It's pretty good.
But I'm saying, isn't that amazing how just being in nature, so that's also another thing too, they're thinking that somehow these people out in nature are not getting enough, whatever. We're the fools thinking that living in concrete boxes is the way to go.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Your immune system, I like that. Your immune system is actually better if you're out there regularly. Right. So
see, I'm just making a comment that because I'm also a green anarchist. I really believe in we should be doing a lot more nature stuff, and because actually it's good for us. I mean, psychologically too. They've done plenty of studies where it's psychologically good for you to just even see green. Even painting stuff green is actually beneficial to us.
Yeah, it's like being out in the sun is good for us, right?
It is. It is, right? Not in the concrete box, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Green things, light, natural things. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I really think that we should, I love when nature also to me is let to be just wilding.
Yeah.
Just put it back to where, nature is just going. Anyway. Yeah.
So prior research has shown early exposure to green space is somehow linked to a well-functioning immune system, but it's still not entirely clear whether the relationship is causal or not. The experiment in Finland was the first to explicitly manipulate a child's urban environment and then test for changes in their microbiome and in turn a child's immune system. While the findings don't hold all the answers, they do support a leading idea, namely that a change in environmental microbes can relatively easily affect a well-established microbiome in children, giving their immune system a helping hand in the process. The notion that an environment rich in living things impacts on our immunity is known as the biodiversity hypothesis. Based on that hypothesis, a loss of biodiversity in urban areas could be at least partially responsible for the recent rise in immune-related illnesses. The results of this study support the biodiversity hypothesis and the concept that low biodiversity in the modern living environment may lead to an uneducated immune system and consequently increase the prevalence of immune-mediated diseases, the authors explained in the 2020 study. Very good.
Well, yeah, because I wanted to get people thinking more positive about all this kind of stuff. It's not just the hunter-gatherer thing we need to rethink. It's, how we interact with nature and how important nature is. Nature's not just some visual thing. But isn't trees nice? What I'm
Right.
saying?
It has an actual effect on your body, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It would really be beneficial if we, took away a lot of concrete and added a lot of trees.
Yeah. We don't need another parking lot.
Right. Or start doing it different. How about a parking lot, but a demand that they have to be lined with trees?
Right.
Or something.
Yeah.
I mean, all I'm saying is that we can. I'm not anti-society, but I am anti a society that thinks that it can't interact or shouldn't interact positively with nature.
Yeah, there's definitely a better way of like incorporating nature into our cities and even just doing things differently. It doesn't have to be like overrun, but we could definitely do things differently.
Oh, and I think when I went to and lived in Indiana, there was a free zoo.
Oh yeah,
absolutely awesome. Yeah,
that's cool.
For go in there as many times as you want, and they had petting animals free.
Nice.
I was like, see, this shit should be everywhere.
Yeah, that's right.
What the hell? I mean, especially for kids. Anyways,
for sure.
Let's keep reading. But I'm just saying it's relative. All this stuff is relative.
Yeah. So the next one is city trees reduce daytime heat.
Oh my gosh. So trees are good again, Corey?
Yeah. So planting trees is generally thought to be a good strategy for mitigating the urban heat island effect, the tendency for cities to be several degrees warmer than the surrounding rural areas. A study published April 9th in the Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences takes a first crack at providing some quantitative answers. It suggests that trees are especially important for keeping heat in check during the day. The magnitude of cooling at any given location depended on the relative amounts of canopy cover and impervious surface in the surrounding landscape, the researchers write. The higher the percentage of tree cover in the surrounding area, the lower the temperature. But overall, the relative benefit of increased canopy cover in the surrounding landscape exceeded that of reducing impervious surface cover in terms of reducing daytime temperatures. Where canopy cover was at least 40% within a radius of 60 to 90 meters, roughly the scale of a city block, the warming effect of impervious surfaces was effectively countered by the cooling effect of the trees, the researchers report. The researchers also found that tree canopy cover has the strongest effects on daytime temperatures on the hottest summer days. Thus, the benefit of growing the urban canopy may be amplified on days with more extreme heat, the researchers write.
Okay, so let's recap for everyone.
Yeah.
We could do something even right now. We need more oxygen, right? It wouldn't be any loss that they take carbon out of the air also. And then also the psychological effect of trees and the immune system boost of trees and the heat lowering thing of trees. Really, we should get some goddamn trees.
Yeah, if you don't have very many trees around you, then you need more for sure.
Well, I'm just making a comment like, but they should be all over, special places in cities. I'm just saying that they're literally kids would need them, right? Because they're in the city and don't have any then psychological effect of trees. It helps everyone that can see it. I mean, anyways, there's just so many wonderful reasons to actually go back to a lot of nature.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like you think like a lot of these schools, they have at least here, they have just wide open playgrounds. Like it's just a bare grass field.
Right.
And you go like,
it was in California too. When I went to school, 3,000 kids, gigantic field. Like you said, just
a few
grass,
more trees. Yeah.
Literally no trees. Or there was a few trees at the front, like maybe 2 or 3 or something.
Along the street or something.
Yeah. Nothing to do with the humongous field of nothing.
Yeah. Wild.
Right? Yeah. And here we need the trees, and they just grass, nothing. Just not even stuff the grass that's any good or whatever. It's like just
So now we're on to 5 ways trees benefit all of us. So number 1, trees eat the greenhouse gases that cause climate change. I think that's
a good thing.
Yep. Number 2, trees boost your mental health while raising your physical health.
Yeah, that would be beneficial. I could see that.
3, trees clean the air so we can breathe more easily. That's always nice.
It does help.
4, trees cool down your life and could even save it.
Yeah, once again, they already had a study on it, so we got that, man. Yeah, that's important.
And then 5, trees filter your water, making your drinking supply cleaner and more reliable.
Oh my God. Well, why don't we start planting more trees, Corey?
Yeah, sounds like trees are good.
Fuck. We can start tree bombing people.
For sure.
All right, so then the next picture you're seeing, this is actually, I think it's like 7 miles long or something. This is just 2 parts of it.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was done like, I think 12,000 years to whatever, something. I don't know, but it's old.
Okay. Jeez. Yeah, it says rock art showing humans interacting with Ice Age animals. Thousands of images drawn during the last Ice Age were found in the Amazon rainforest. Some of the rock art has faded over the millennia.
Right. And I just made it red to make it so you can see more. But just think in general. Just look at this. Does this look simple or somewhat complex? Going back to that whole simple thing, right?
Yep. It definitely seemed pretty complex to me. Like maybe you might, I don't know, if somebody knew what the images meant, then maybe they'd, be able to translate it better. But like, right. It looks too complex to me.
Right. And then you go to the one under it, actually, to me, almost starts looking even more complex.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in that one, right?
A lot.
Yeah.
So anyways, and then go down and read what it says.
All right, so researchers in the Amazon rainforest uncovered an extraordinary canvas made up of drawings of mastodons, giant sloths, and other extinct beasts, which is up to 12,600 years old. The ancient artists used the red pigment ochre to create the monumental artwork, which spans some 13 kilometers or 8 miles of rock on the hills of the Colombian Amazon. Robinson and his team believe that indigenous people began painting these images at the archaeological site of Serenia La Lindosa on the northern edge of the Colombian Amazon, towards the end of the last ice age. During this period, which occurred between 12,600 and 11,800 years ago, the Amazon was still transforming into the tropical rainforest we recognize today. That's cool. That's really cool.
You always learn interesting stuff with me, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, so just think again. 8 miles of this? That seems extremely complex. Or whatever. I mean, and
yeah.
And interesting, like wow.
Yeah, and it's over like quite a span of time too. So it's like they continued on like this tradition of like drawing these symbols on the wall, right?
Exactly. Right. But it wasn't aliens.
Nope.
And it wasn't, Graham Hancock's, white people, R1B or whatever bullshit. This is more than likely, this is QDNA to me. QDNA comes in like 3 different waves.
Okay.
Not like it just came one time. This is the earliest, or maybe the second earliest. I'm not, but no, I think so. I think this is I think 12 something was the earliest to get down to the South America.
Okay.
Because then another wave was 10,000 years ago, making shell mounds in the Pacific Northwest. and then they come down and get to Brazil by 8,000 something, I believe, and then make shell mounds again. Then all of a sudden it's just all over the place from that point. Explosion that goes all up and over the edge of Brazil.
Right.
Just lots and lots. I don't know, 1,000 shell mounds or something.
That's cool.
Anyways, but we're gonna do of course a video and explain all that. But what I was just trying to say is that once you understand, like they can check the DNA, this stuff is not.
Yeah, it's clearly not it's clearly not aliens, and it's clearly not some random advanced civilization that happened to sail all over the fucking place at the same,
right.
In a single generation or whatever they're saying.
Well, exactly. And in the midst, and here's the thing too. We know that the probably 3 versions that came in of the Earth Diver myth.
Right.
3 different sets of QDNA came in. I wonder if that has any. Oh, it actually came from that area in Siberia. Right where the heart of the Earth Diver myth started, amazing.
Yeah,
not a shocker. And it's nothing that Graham Hancock. Dude, you're wrong. Totally. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
that's why I wouldn't even, like I said, listen to his nonsense. Like, dude, come on. No, I can explain it to you. And it's. And that's why I was under the thing too. I wanted to explain the stuff that goes down in New Zealand stuff because I wanted to do a video and explain that. Right. Because those things are like mysterious, and so people can just make up, or Australia or Papua New Guinea,
right?
And they're just like us, anyways.
For sure.
I know, shocker.
Yeah, human beings are still human beings.
Yeah. Oh, and also they share a lot of religious and cultural things. There's tons of Australian. Sure. There's Indonesia, Australian, Papua New Guinea. All these people are doing something similar to totemism. They all have this like clan stuff. They all have some form of almost like shamanism. They all, even though they're not exactly the same related versions, but it's.
Yeah. Okay. Human-altered Amazon rainforest. The Amazon rainforest, also called Amazon jungle or Amazonia, is a moist broadleaf tropical rainforest in the Amazon biome that covers most of the Amazon basin of South America. This region includes territory belonging to 9 nations and 3,344 formally acknowledged indigenous territories. The majority of the forest, 60%, is in Brazil, followed by Peru with 13%, Colombia with 10%. The Amazon represents over half the Earth's remaining rainforests and comprises the largest and most biodiverse tract of the tropical rainforest in the world, with an estimated 390 billion individual trees in about 16,000 species. Based on archaeological evidence from an excavation at Caverna da Pedra Pintada, human inhabitants first settled in the Amazon region at least 11,200 years ago.
Right. That, and like I was saying to me, that's the first, which people would call like Paleo Indians in a sense.
Okay.
Those are the first branch of Q. So.
Okay. The BBC's Unnatural Histories presented evidence that the Amazon rainforest, rather than being a pristine wilderness, has been shaped by man for at least 11,000 years through practices such as forest gardening and terra preta. Terra preta.
Right. Hold on a second. So once again, those naked people, right? We talked about this. Naked people. Thousands of years ago, 11,000 years ago, we're doing forest gardening.
Yeah.
And Terra Preta. Click on, never mind. Just read Terra Preta. I gave you the reference. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's well in this paragraph still it says Terra preta is found over large areas in the Amazon forest and is now widely accepted as a product of indigenous soil management.
Okay, right. So the reason the Amazon is so flourishing is this terra preta.
Right.
And terra preta is something that the Amazon indigenous naked people did.
Yeah.
These unprimitive naked people did a lot of cool shit that actually is so good that they're not going to probably start copying it because it's that fucking good.
Yeah, right. Jeez, eh?
But I'm just saying that also shows that the Amazon rainforest is not pristine, like I said before. It's absolutely indigenous creation.
Right.
I mean, it's not that some parts of it weren't there for I think 16 million years or whatever the shit
Sure.
is. But I'm talking about like they just said, massive portions of the Amazon rainforest are actually creations of indigenous people.
Yeah.
So stop. I'm saying stop thinking of just because someone is naked in the sense that they have no cultural value or you know what I'm saying. Like,
yep.
Well, enough clothes makes the man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Never mind the fact that the clothes that they wore probably a development of the climate at the time, right?
Right. You're right. Yeah.
You know, like why are you wearing all these clothes when it's friggin' 35 degrees all the time?
Yeah, that's a good point. You're not in Canada.
Yeah, that's right. The development of this fertile soil allowed agriculture and silviculture in the previous hostile environment, meaning that large portions of the Amazon rainforest are probably the result of centuries of human management rather than naturally occurring, as has previously been supposed. In the millennia before European colonizers invaded the Amazon rainforest, throngs of indigenous people moved mountains of dirt to create some 10,000 yet to be identified earthworks across the region. And 24 sites where massive amounts of dirt formed circular and rectangular geoglyphs, settlements, and religious sites.
Right. So once again, those naked people were also building mounds and earthworks and
communities and religious.
You get what I'm saying. But it goes back like, oh well. Primitive hunter-gatherers couldn't have built Göbekli Tepe. Remember that?
Yep.
I don't remember his name now. But...
Yeah, he's one of the guys that's arguing online with
archaeologists.
The archaeologists. Yeah, I can't remember his name either.
But anyway, I'm just saying. But my point is, it's that thought that they can't do that. Well, do you? That like remember I said that's so funny to me because it's like, do you know what hunter-gatherers can do or have done?
Yeah, you don't actually know, right?
Because when you say primitive, I'm thinking you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. You've got an idea of in your head of what people were like, and you don't actually know anything about them.
And you're being bigoted with, maybe not without realizing it, but you are.
Yeah,
absolutely are, because I'm just showing you there's so much that people that were hunter-gatherers and even naked, they did amazing things.
Right.
So
the development of this fertile soil. Oh, I already did that part. Throngs of. Okay. Yes. Yet to be identified earthworks across the region, and 24 sites where massive mounds of dirt formed circular, rectangular geoglyphs, settlements, and religious sites. Based on what the researchers knew about such structures, they estimated the huge number of these mysterious constructions that are likely hidden somewhere beneath the still unsearched forest.
I think that's amazing as hell.
Yeah, there's stuff
10,000.
That's wild, eh?
So it's like saying, oh, I found Stonehenge. No. They found 10,000 Stonehenges.
Yeah.
The fuck? Yeah, that sounds pretty complex to me.
For sure. And here's silviculture, which is the word I kind of got stuck on earlier. Silviculture is the practice of controlling the growth, composition, and structure, as well as the quality of forests to meet values and needs, specifically timber production. Silviculture also focuses on making sure that the treatments of forest strands are used to conserve and improve their productivity. Generally, silviculture is the science and art of growing and cultivating forests or crops based on the knowledge of silvics.
But 1 second.
Yeah.
So that was an invention of indigenous people.
Right.
Ones that were, going back to hunter-gatherers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It wasn't an invention of the capitalist forest industry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fuck no. Indigenous people did that first, and not for the same capitalist reasons. Because you can plant trees that animals like. Then you get more of those animals. Or more production or ability to flourish for those animals. Or you could do it because it bees like it, or bugs or something, some bug grubs you like, or what. I'm just making a comment for food sources, but also for shade ones that there's all kinds of reasons you can make. But I'm just saying that trees have all kinds of benefits outside of just themselves, even
for sure.
The habitats that they, in a sense, cultivate.
Yep. Yeah, that's why, like, when you have the, I guess, various forest fires, because there's natural burns that are supposed to happen, right? Not caused by climate change. And then it replenishes so much of the environment in that area because it allows new growth and it allows new bacteria to grow, a new, and it's all cyclical and it all depends on itself going through these cycles. But then we go in and we fuck it up with our profit-driven needs, our mass deforestation. Like,
yeah, and like you said before, monoculture things.
Yeah.
Like shit. Yeah, that's not the way to do it. So just like one of the forest gardens I heard was like something like 43 different like trees and bushes or whatever.
Right.
Not monoculture.
Yeah. Biodiversity, like they said earlier.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. And that's an indigenous invention.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Like, who should get credit? The indigenous people should get credit. The ones that are hunter-gatherers.
That's right.
Those non-simple people.
Yeah, that's right. So then the study of life, history, and general characteristics of forest, trees, and stands, with particular reference to the local regional factors. The focus of silviculture is the control, establishment, and management of forest stands. And then we've got just kind of, was the Neolithic Revolution really a revolution? And the answer appears to be no.
No, because the concept of revolution, when they first understood agriculture or started finding artifacts, they used the Marx idea of revolution like a complete and utter society change.
Which isn't.
And also it's older and it kind of was very progressional.
Right.
Although I do think that at certain times things started really occurring, but it's something to do with climate. Like I told you, if you look at the climate thing, you're like, yeah, there's a lot of shit looks like it's climate based.
Right.
But I mean, so I think climate definitely had a thing, but culture also just wasn't as fast. It's like, can you really call something that took 3,000 years revolution? I think not.
That seems a little too gradual to call a revolution, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So then it says changes were gradual, spanning thousands of years, with no abandonment of previous lifestyles. Thus, calling it a revolution may not be entirely accurate.
Right. It's completely inaccurate.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, removed from the thought of, it's not the Neolithic Revolution. That's agriculture. No, just agriculture, and it happened. And it happened in the Neolithic. There's no take out the revolution part.
Right. The change from hunting and gathering lifeways was from prehistoric farming. Well, sometimes the mix of used parts of different lifestyles, people don't always fit neatly, but do what is available or do what is needed, but lack full aspects found in several other styles. So yeah, is that like to say that they essentially they moved from, one type of life to another type of life, but they kind of just incorporating different aspects of it as they went?
Right. In other words, like in Çatalhöyük, just to give an example to understand, Çatalhöyük is the first religious city to me because they actually incorporate every home has a religion like temple in it almost.
Okay.
Or a little mini temple or something. But then also they have stuff connected, but that are maybe bigger and maybe houses of worship or something. Anyways, or houses of burial. Anyway, the thought also, just by the way, real quick about that. Thought also is probably a shaman's house. So,
okay,
reminding people about shamanism. Oh yeah, because they were pagans and shamans and holy shit, I did totemism too, and I'm losing in animism. Because I'm just saying, you get what I'm saying is that it's boom, 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 boom. I told you, to me, it's like Legos. Like you stack, like animism is the bottom, and you stack another one. Now they're both connected. Then you stack paganism on top of that, and it's just shamanism and then paganism.
Right.
It just stacks of beliefs, and then they call that modern religion or whatever.
Yeah. For sure.
So, anyways, going back to Çatalhöyük. So, Çatalhöyük, they absolutely domesticated or had domesticated grain.
Okay.
This is something different. At Göbekli Tepe, there is no domesticated grain. And at Korku Tepe or Korku Tepe or whatever it's called, I don't know. No. I'm not great at pronouncing this. But anyways, that one is 11,000 something, about time of Göbekli Tepe, 11,500. And but that actually has the oldest mace head that probably, to me, relates to authority and leadership.
Right.
I knew that I mean, if there's a revolution, I would attach it to that. I think that is the beginning of fucking nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And it's authority, because then in hierarchy and fuck no.
Yeah.
You really had me until you did that. No. So to me, and then that town is doing something very unique.
Okay.
All the other areas, and I've said before, I was maybe, I don't know if I said it to you, but I was thinking it before for sure. That at Korku Tepe, they have amazing stone plates, bowls, cups that are like made. They look like you could buy now, or like they would be expensive, like or some kind of because there's like they took an entire stone and just carved the hole out and then shaved the sides so it looks like it's almost like pottery.
Right.
I mean, it's unfucking really.
That's wild.
That's fucking just stone and they did that with stone tools. I know there's some of the stones aren't super super hard, but still that's
the amount of work it would take.
Also, I noticed they seem to be too fine and like all geometric, like perfect, and leveled and done, and like way eccentrically done. And I thought, who is the fucker that is telling people that's not good enough or to do it?
Right.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
and the fact that so much is the same, it's like it's a culture or someone's. I was like, it almost seems like force or
Right.
something, because creativity should be a lot more free. Like an
Right,
artist,
yeah.
I'm an artist, so I know creativity should be a lot more free. So when you see it isn't, it's all like, I don't know. But if you go look online, just to give you a thought, if you look online and you say turtle pendant, you get the same fucking turtle. They turn it on one. They have a hole on one thing, hole on the head. They spin it around, hole on the bottom, right? And then they have ones that are different colors or different metals, but it's almost exactly the same exact like cookie cutter
Right.
pendant. Like, it's crazy. Even like prices, they can go from like almost $10 to like 1,000, and it's the same fucking stupid. You're like, oh my god, it's serious. But I showed that to my wife because I was talking about why I want our art, and jewelry to be more dynamic, because this shit is so fucking boring.
Yeah. That's mass produced shit, right? Like that's how that works.
Right? Yeah. It's just fucking trash. And I was like, God. Anyways, I digress. I'm just making a point about capitalism. Just ruins creativity, right?
It's so boring.
It just shows just nothing. How can that be possible? That there's this humongous variation and of the same fucking thing. It's like, they all got the memo. You can't do it. It has to be this. You didn't know
that? Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, capitalism.
Yeah. So I guess horticulture. Horticulture began with the domestication of plants.
Oh, I forgot. I know. I forgot. Oh. I digressed, right? I forgot because I got into art. I forgot. Oh. So Chattelhoek, what I was going to say about what you said about the cultures doing things different. So Chattelhoek has domestic stuff, right? Chattelhoek also has a warrior or some sort of a cult where it seems like mainly men, or only men. Actually, it is only pictures of men. There is like 1 or 2 women sometimes, but they always look nothing like the men. And the men are shown as white, black, tan, or brown, sort of in between black. And then they show ones that have half. I don't know what that means, but they're like half their body is black, half their body is white. Interesting that they're showing us like different colors of people, but they're all interacting, whatever. And it's not like it looks like one race or whatever, racism, whatever the racism, it's the white people did everything. Those, in fact, I don't think the white people were actually,
there's nobody drawing just like the white guy at the front teaching all of the people of others.
No,
it's not a thing.
No, but anyway, I wanted to go back to about what they're doing. So they're doing hunting, and yet they have domestic cows or animals, and they have domestic wheat farming. So they have farming, and they have dairy, and they have maybe even, I don't know if they're pigs. They probably had I don't know, they had other animals. I can't remember off the top of my head. But
so like in modern times, you might have a farmer who goes hunting, but also has pigs and cattle and grows crops.
So, yeah.
Interesting. It's almost like they're not that different from us.
Yeah, but I think that what happened to me, at least at Chattelhoek, what it looks like to me, is the hunter-gatherer didn't want to stop hunter-gathering. I don't know if it's a necessity, because it doesn't seem like it.
Right, they don't have to.
The reason I'm doing this, the men and women are both eating like a lot, right? And they're eating well or whatever. Yeah. They're not. No one's like somehow being starved. I told you before, I think the kids are not doing as great, but because they're eating mainly grain, like oatmeal all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways. But you just think, it doesn't mean that parents knew that was bad. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever.
Just
making that
yeah.
comment. So I was not judging them. They, who's to say they know that, they might have thought that's the better food. Let's just save it for the kids. I don't know. I'm just making the comment. We don't know. So anyways, my point is, but the women were eating the more domestic animals and the men were eating more of wild animals.
Okay.
And the pictures show the men pulling the tongues of animals or whatever, which doesn't seem real friendly, and their tails and stuff. So it seems like they're cultic hunting, maybe.
Okay.
Or something. So in other words, what I was trying to make a point is, I think that goes eventually to warrior cult. This is where it branches to me, or it looks like, and maybe at Çatalhöyük, because Çatalhöyük actually goes into Europe. So Çatalhöyük ideas absolutely goes towards and becomes part of Europe. Whether they changed a lot in between, of course they did.
Sure.
But I'm just saying the core ideas. So understanding Çatalhöyük is super important, since that literally is what became what people think is pagan Europe,
Right.
Some of it, because actually some of it also comes from Siberia, because those people brought their ideas across. But I'm just saying about Çatalhöyük. So Çatalhöyük, I think, was having farming, right, which definitely was religious based too, Mother Earth and all that, and Skyfather bringing rain,
Right.
So this is a real in the sun, because also the Skyfather is the sun, and the sun is needed for the plants. So they figured that out. So anyways, I'm just saying. So that's going on, and then a branch off, not exactly that, branch off of that to me, warrior cult thing, because hunting cult. Like a hunting cult, but it's only men, and they're doing sort of vicious or unkind behaviors, like hurting animals, right? And think of this later. It's part of a ritual that's probably 4,000 years old, because they have artifacts about dogs and boys having, in a sense, to kill an animal. Which later, you have to kill your own dog, the one you love, because then you become tough and you get, or whatever. And people don't understand, a lot of dog sacrifice up in the Siberia.
Okay.
Before, so it's not like, I'm not saying that I know that exactly that, ritual, whatever, is connected to the other one, but more than likely is. Because they would kill a dog and then on a spear hang it, to guard from the spirits not to come into the camp or whatever.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't agree with that. But I'm just explaining it. It's not just like they're wantonly murdering these animals. But the other one was the warrior cult, and the warrior cult eventually, because I don't know exactly, you see buried dogs. It looks like that's, or dogs buried with them and stuff, showing that another connection to animals. But it's that kind of thing, like, and then like it becomes, in a sense, what people call berserkers, and that, in a sense, relates to that, just so you know. And also it relates to what people think of as skinwalkers, which you put the skin over your back, whatever, and you become the animal or whatever. So it's older, and it's connected to, I'm just saying, all that kind of thinking.
Okay.
All right, let's go on to horticulture.
Okay, so horticulture. Horticulture began with the domestication of plants 10,000 to 20,000 years ago, and has since been deeply integrated into humanity's history. It is important to note that the domestication of plants occurred independently within various civilizations across the globe. The history of horticulture overlaps with the history of agriculture and history of botany, as all three originated with the domestication of various plants for food. In Europe, agriculture and horticulture diverged at some point during the Middle Ages. Early practices in horticulture include a number of various ways that people managed the land using an assortment of tools, with a variety of methods and types of plants cultivated for a number of uses. Methods, tools, and plants grown have always depended on the culture and climate. There are a number of traditional horticultural practices that we know of today, such as the indigenous peoples of pre-colonized North America, using biochar to enhance soil productivity by smoldering plant waste. Europeans called this soil terra preta de indio. In North America, indigenous people grew maize, squash, and sunflower, among other crops. Mesoamerican cultures focused on the cultivating of crops on a small scale, such as the milpa or maize field, around their dwellings or in specialized plots, which were visited occasionally during migrations from one area to the next. In Central America, the Maya involved augmentation of the forest with useful trees such as papaya, avocado, cacao, chiba, and sapodilla. In the fields, multiple crops such as beans, squash, pumpkins, and chili peppers were grown. The first horticulturists in many cultures were mainly or exclusively women. In addition to the medicinal and nutritional values that plants hold, plants have also been grown for their beauty and to impress and demonstrate power, knowledge, status, and even wealth of those in control of the cultivated plant material. This symbolic power that plants hold has existed even before the beginnings of their cultivation. There is evidence that various gardens maintained by the Aztecs were sacred as they grew plants that were held religious value. Plants were grown for their metaphorical relation to gods and goddesses. Flowers held symbolic power in religious rites as they were offered to the gods, as well as were given in ceremonies to leaders to demonstrate their connection to the gods. Horticultural societies are differentiated from hunting and gathering societies by the use of domesticated plants as the major basis for subsistence. Horticultural societies are technically differentiated from agrarian societies by their lack of plows and animal traction, and from pastoral societies because they do not make domesticated herd animals the main basis of subsistence. Many more people can be supported per squared kilometer by investing effort in replacing relatively rare wild plant species that produce relatively few parts that humans can eat with masses of domesticated species that produce relatively great quantities of edible parts. People tend to have to work hard to plant, weed, harvest, and process food in horticultural systems. There is no assistance from animal or mechanical powered tools. Horticultural societies have agricultural systems that are relatively unproductive per unit of human labor compared to plow agriculture, and more productive per unit land area than hunting and gathering. As figure 4.1 illustrates, this is a generalization about means. It does not tell us anything about the variance. Hunters and gatherers in the very best environments, for example, the northwest coast, had local population densities that far exceed the very low densities of some horticulturalists of the tropical forests. Likewise, the best that horticulturalists can do in a favorable environment in this regard undoubtedly beats what the plowman can do in an unfavorable environment. When livestock becomes important enough that their herders become mobile, substantially different pastoral societies arise, although many horticulturalists keep some animals and many pastoralists engage in some farming.
Right. Going back to the same thing, that there is really a lot of overlap. Just like I was saying about religion, it's not like you just say you're just a pure paganist and there's no shamanism involved, or no history links to it, and there's no totemism and there's no animism. That's just horse crap.
Right.
To me. And the same thing that I think it's the thing is that instead of just saying hunter-gatherers, I think you could say hunter-gatherers and horticulturalists, or or forest farmers, or you know what I'm saying, because they accurately they deserve more than just one simple title.
For sure. There's lots of, like you say, there's lots of different people doing a variety of the things, right?
Right.
So horticulture first developed in the Middle East around 9,500 years ago, and by about 5,000 years ago, this technology had spread far eastward and to the Atlantic in the west. cattle and sheep herding developed very early in association with the plant domesticates, chiefly wheat and barley, plus a substantial number of minor crops, hence the availability of draft animals. Agrarian societies arose relatively early from horticultural ones in West Asia and Europe. North China, Mexico, and Peru were also earlier centers of horticulture. The tropical lowlands of East Asia, Africa, and South America appear to have developed horticulture based on tropical crops rather later than the four semi-arid city centers. Unlike the case with hunting and gathering societies, we have a rather large sample of contemporary horticultural societies. However, our sample is still rather biased relative to the historical record. A special type of horticulture, swidden cultivation, has turned out to be quite a durable adaptation to the wet tropics. Elsewhere, plow agriculture has tended to replace horticulture. For example, the Spanish brought cattle to the New World, and ox-drawn plows replaced horticulture in most of the drier and more temperate parts of Latin America, fairly soon after the conquest. Chroniclers with the conquistadors give us some pictures of these societies. We know something more of the horticulture of the Native American of the eastern half of the U.S., most of whom were forest horticulturalists, and of the peoples of the southwestern U.S. and northern Mexico, who were horticulturalists in semi-arid country. These societies persisted in fairly unmodified state into the 19th century. Many people still depend on horticulture in the wet tropics. You may have heard the somewhat old pejorative term, slash and burn, applied to swidden horticulture.
Which goes back to the comment you kind of made about that sometimes it's a good thing when there's a burn.
Right.
And a lot of native communities, even in Australia too, I know, totally understood this.
Yeah.
But of course, they probably also, some may have attached religious meaning to it, which we know also is, just a fun fantasy.
Yeah, for sure. Indigenous horticulture is practiced in various ways across all inhabited continents. Indigenous refers to the native peoples of a given area, and horticulture is the practice of small-scale intercropping. It has often been thought that the slash/burn plots are abandoned after 1 or 2 years because of unproductive soil, but this is a common misconception. The Kayapo revisit abandoned fields because plants can offer direct and indirect benefits. One direct benefit would be the ability to eat that which has been produced, and an indirect benefit would be that open fields attract game for hunting and can produce long after they have been tended. The southern region of South America is known as the Fuegian area and is occupied by the Chono, Alacaluf, and Yagan. These marginal tribes differed greatly from other regions in that they were expert in making bark or plank canoes and domesticating dogs, hunting, fishing, and gathering. Nomads with simple socio-religious patterns, yet completely lacked the technology of pottery, loom weaving, metallurgy, and even agriculture. Since there was a lack of agriculture in this region, the Chono ate native berries, roots, fruits, and wild celery. The source of nutrition for the Chono, Yagans, and Alcaluf thus mainly consisted of seafood such as whales, sea porpoises, guanacos, and otters. The southern tribes of South America distinguished themselves not in having a rare form of agriculture like the North's slush-mush method, or the having intensive agriculture like the East's sophisticated slash-burn method, yet were able to distinguish themselves in being absent of this trait.
Right, just showing that even, ones that are a little more advanced, but people generally think agriculture is better than horticulture, but even horticulture has a few variants.
Right. Yeah.
just showing once again, it's still more complex than people think.
Of course, yeah. No kidding. Yeah.
Well, hard on that, like I said, because I feel like that's just the biggest issue.
Yeah. It's just the assumptions people make because of the term primitive or the term, simple or whatever, right? Like,
yeah, or hunter gatherer that somehow people, or even horticulture, because it's not agriculture, that somehow it's still, people are living off of it. It can't be like, a bad thing.
Yeah, no kidding. Can you hear that? The dog barking?
No.
Okay.
No, I thought you were talking about my cat.
Oh no, our puppy's barking because she either needs attention or she needs to go out.
Oh.
So I had to tell the girls, hey, take the puppy out.
I sent you the picture of Chatahoyuk just so you could see it, because I will, of course, in the video show the picture.
Oh yeah.
And then that's just one I did of one of the house things, so you get an idea of what's going on.
Right.
Do you see it?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I showed you that before.
Yeah, probably.
I showed you a lot of stuff, actually.
It looks familiar, but yeah, like I say, you've showed me a lot of stuff, so sometimes it doesn't stick.
But that's, like I said, it's real important because that's like the first religious city.
Right.
That's like, so it is important. And this stuff was on the walls. Here's the next one. And see where they're doing, so they're hunter gatherers, but look at how they're attacking these animals, right?
Right.
And you notice it's basically so can you find the white people? It's like where's Waldo, right? Because they're on here. There's a few of them.
There's some very light ones, yeah.
Right, light ones. There's one, tell me, 1, 2, see if I can find them all. 3, 4. I think that's it.
I see a leg up there that has one leg is white and the other one.
Oh, you're right. So. That's a half and half, though.
So
that's a half and half.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's a leg. But anyways, but as you notice, 2 of them, right down at the bottom, they don't have a leopard skin. Leopard skins are the sign of power.
Oh, okay.
Right? No leopard skin.
Mm-hmm.
So these 2 white people, in fact, they don't even have weapons. Oh, so they're not the powerful ones, right, Corey?
Right.
Just saying.
They're not in charge.
The great white race is not in charge, is it? No, I think it's probably that black one with the bow in his hand pointing at people, or one of these other ones that have the leopard skin.
Right.
There's those brown ones have the leopard skin too. No. There is some white people up at the top. The top one.
Oh,
they
yes.
do have leopard skins.
Yeah.
But as you notice, there's a lot of the brown people do, and other scenes you see black and brown people with leopard skins.
Right.
Anyways, so as you see though, that a lot of people have power. Not everybody, but there's a lot of leopard skins. Right?
Yep, for sure.
I mean, if you look at the whole thing, just go back to the concept of now like hierarchy and stuff. This obviously is not a perfect hierarchy because there's way too many people with leopard skins.
Yeah, it's almost. Yeah, right? You could say like it's probably much more evenly distributed here, right?
You get what I'm trying to say. Now, some people don't have that, but you see how that the majority really do have some power. Anyways,
yeah.
I just wanted to show you that, and they're still doing animals, and now they're pulling their tongues and stuff. Really
right.
Yeah. So, but I was just saying is they could have just ate the domestic cows that they had, but they chose to go out and hunt. That's all I was saying is like this, this purity thing. But I thought it was important to see, because when you see it, then you can get it more what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And also, like I said, we debunked the Graham Hancock that white people were running things. They were somehow the elite teaching people.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's not what that looked like.
Yeah. Just
and the question of, can we, integrate society? It used to be like,
yeah, that's right.
now's the new thing.
Yeah. It's actually the idea that we can't. That's the newer problem.
That really is. It really is. Because you look right there. It looks like everyone's working together, and they're all different races, and they don't seem to give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just making a comment that, of course, we can work together. It's absolutely, I agree, an asinine thing to think.
Yeah, for sure.
Seriously. So, anyways, we'll go back to the thing. I just wanted to address that.
No, sounds good. So, continuing on, farming methods developed by Native Americans include terracing, irrigation, mound building, crop rotation, and fertilization. They also used extensive companion planting. See the Three Sisters. Terracing is an effective technique in a steep-sloped, semi-arid climate. The indigenous farmers stair-stepped the hills so that soil erosion was minimal and land surface was better suited for farming. In the Southwest, including parts of New Mexico, Arizona, and parts of northern Mexico, terracing was extensive. Terraces were constructed by placing rock dams to direct runoff water to canals that evenly dispersed rainwater. The terrace field transformed the terrain into a land suitable for farming maize. There is evidence that terracing has been used in the Southwest for about 2,500 years. The Anasazi people from this region built reservoirs and directed rainwater through ditches to water the crops in the terraces.
So they're complex.
Yeah, no kidding.
Native Americans are complex. Yeah, okay. Or were, yeah. Still are.
Yeah.
But
the natives grew corn, squash, and beans along with other crops in the terraced fields. That's pretty cool.
Right? And the thought of them is totally, once again, primitive and bigoted. Oh, your ancestors are primitive. No, they weren't.
Right. Yeah. By people that don't, the assumptions made by people in the modern age that don't understand how water works, like how it runs to the easiest route and needs to be dammed off.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to show too is to get really how more complex everything is. I mean, you don't call doing all this different things complex? Like, then what do you mean by complex?
Yeah.
They just mean, well, you're not white. You're not doing, Western
you're not
culture.
Industrial.
Yeah, industrial. You're not industrial and Christian.
Yeah, that's right. It's a different society. It's not part of our industrial capitalist white Christian society. So obviously it's simple.
Yeah.
Corn, squash, and beans were staple crops for Native Americans and were grown throughout much of the North American continent. This trio is known as the Three Sisters. Ancient folklore belief says that the Three Sisters represented three goddesses. Each sister protected the other two, and therefore the Three Sisters should never be separated and instead be planted, cooked, and consumed together. In reality, this triad was an example of symbiotic planting. The corn stalks functioned as a support for the beans. The beans fixed nitrogen into a usable form for the corn and the squash, and the broad squash leaves provided shade for the soil, which aided in preventing evaporation and controlling weeds. As the success of the Three Sisters spread, many cultures turned away from hunting and gathering and relied much more on farming. Geographically, native cultures in the woodlands, prairie, plains, Great Basin, and plateau regions of North America all utilized the Three Sisters to some extent. Where they were not grown, the locals traded for them. Nomadic tribes, such as the Dakotas, would trade meat for these vegetable staples. The Three Sisters were usually eaten in unison, as they provide fairly balanced nutrition when consumed together. For example, beans and corn together provide a complete set of essential amino acids.
Wow, smart.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? No, I did not know that about the like the corn, squash, and beans.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You know about Three Sisters?
No, I did not.
Oh, well, I know so much stuff that
You
I
forget.
told you it's real hard for me. I talk to people and
Yeah.
I've been going to atheist meetups in my area.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
How's it going?
It's hard because it's hard because I know so much knowledge and stuff, and also I had I think I told you I had maybe I didn't, I don't know, but I told you that I had to explain to them that what they keep calling far left is not even.
Oh my
left.
God. They're all, what are they all, Democrats, or are they all like a mix?
Democrats or libertarians or whatever, like just
libertarians. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me explain out to you. You guys are on the right.
Okay, let's get this down here.
And I go, where you guys don't like Donald Trump isn't really exactly a right or left issue. It really is a authoritarian, anti-authoritarian issue.
Yeah,
it's a north-south issue more than a right
left,
issue.
right,
You guys, when you get to a lot of this stuff, pretty close.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and anyways.
Yeah, I think that's the mistake that people make when they think of it as a single axis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because they're not acknowledging the up and down of it, right?
They literally not.
Yeah.
And well, just like everyone gets crazy when they find out that Hitler was a centrist on our normal plot,
economics,
not on a plot that the Democrats designed, because they would somehow put him far right, anyways. But not them. They'd be left, of course. Anyways, because they're like central rightist, maybe.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways,
so they are left of some people, but
yeah, Biden is 2 spots left of Trump, so he is left.
Yeah, so he is left.
Of Trump, barely.
Yeah,
2 spots is nothing to cheer about.
It's not by a lot, for sure.
I'm 2 spots from my wife. She's more left than me. I don't consider her or me not a leftist.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And Corey is like, I think 5 spots more anarchist than me.
Is that right?
I don't think I'm not an anarchist.
No, that's right. You're still an anarchist just because those. So Biden and Trump, that makes them both on the right economically.
It does. It really does. It does.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Even Bernie, like he was like a centrist economically, right? Like.
Right, and I think he might have even been 1 or 2, just like the Trump thing from Biden, but 1 or 2 spots to the left, actually and then the South left, so relative the better, region to hang out in.
Which is why he's a little bit closer to us.
Yeah, which is right. Which is why when he came on, that was the first time. If I had not voted, because I didn't vote until Trump.
Right.
I mean. I voted for Junior because I was a Republican. Then I stopped being that. Never voted again because I was an anarchist.
Yeah.
So I felt like the freaking people about saying what the fuck doesn't really have.
And by and large, like Clinton was the same as the guy before him, and
so and they're always going to war or doing stuff. Doesn't make any difference which one's there.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, no. They'll both go to war, or pay for war, or so no zero difference, and they all support State of Israel, which is weird. State of Israel is a rightist, so you would think that the Democrats would have a hell of a lot more problems with him.
Yeah, if they were legitimately left, but they don't.
They don't. So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
Anyways, but like I said, I started with, but Bernie, yeah, I would have been more happy, and that's why I was saying too that some of you hear some of the values that that even people that are hunter gatherers have, and I go, yeah, I like some of those values. Those are actually good values.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like,
and I would say one thing I really liked too when I was looking at going back to the Brazilian uncontacted people that just got contacted,
right,
or chose to contact or whatever, and they needed help. The children's faces, so just fucking happy, the go lucky, no care in the world look. I was like, man, yeah. So that and I know that, by the way, just to make a point, but I know about Brazilian tribes. We're going to read eventually, but that they almost never hit the kids. Like that's just a cultural, like the indigenous cultural thing. You don't hit kids. I was like, see,
yeah,
primitive. Fuck, that's exact right. That see, they know.
Yep. Yeah, we've done a lot of messed up things in our industrial capitalist democracy, quote unquote democracy.
Yeah. So I'm just making a comment that I can look at that and go, that is a great behavior. And see, it didn't take a civilized person to come up with that. These naked people, their kids happy as fuck.
Yeah.
Running around naked. I mean, and
yeah.
That literally, they've already done studies, by the way, on nudist resorts or whatever. There's actually zero harm to kids that grow up, seeing naked. No, it's actually sexual behavior that's harmful.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's not just the act of, it's just not just being naked, right?
Exactly.
It's like that. That's why, like, when you have like little kids, like they don't give a shit. They'll run around the house naked. They'll take their diaper off and do whatever the hell they want. When they're going, like, it doesn't even matter who's around. They'll just go. And you go, well, okay, well, they're not hurting anybody. They're not being hurt by that.
Right, but that's what I was trying to say. Like the people out in the Brazil, uncontacted indigenous people, they're all naked, men, women, everybody's naked. I'm just making a comment that people look at that and they assume like somehow primitive and their kids must be harmed when these kids look happy as fuck.
Yeah, well, because they haven't learned the taboos, right? Like that we have been force-fed, right? Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm just saying. We think, oh, those poor kids. No, actually, they're doing great. Other than,
nobody's hurting them.
Yeah, I don't know. That works. They're being cared for and not hurt. That is a kid. That's pretty. Allowed to go do fun stuff. Yeah. That literally is a kid. Heaven right there.
That's right.
Let's go back. So,
all right. The three sisters. Yes, eaten in unison as amino acids. Okay. Native American farmers also employed irrigation. This technique was utilized throughout much of the Southwest and is useful where water is scarce. Irrigation was and is still used today throughout much of the world. Native Americans controlled the amount of water that reached their fields by building long irrigation canals to redirect water from a source to water their crops. The Hohokam people constructed about 600 miles of irrigation canals from CE 50 to 1450 near Phoenix, Arizona.
Right. Those primitive people. Yeah, right. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, 600 miles is a long stretch of irrigation canals.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild.
So once again, even a lot of people have had a lot of negative, opinions or things about Native Americans, and look at the amazing things they were doing. They're not like somehow backward or something. They literally are doing amazing feats that they would rival anything.
For sure. Yeah. colonizers came in and were so full of shit, right? Like just
So
completely
full
like
of shit.
you're not using the land we want the way we think you should be. So meanwhile, they're building like all these amazing irrigation canals and terracing and like
Right, and helping the whole Amazon grow, and yeah,
complex horticulture.
yeah, all this amazing, yeah, literally
Come on.
everywhere they went, Native Americans were doing amazing things.
Yeah.
So, but I, to me, it's not like, oh, Native Americans are special and they were amazing. No, all hunter-gatherers, humans in general, amazing.
Yeah.
We did amazing things. We always have.
It changed when people come in with domination ideas, and that's when it gets bad. Like it was people are brilliant. But when power
Capitalism did not invent brilliance.
That's right. Yeah. Capitalism destroys the brilliance. Domination destroys the brilliance.
It limits. All you got to do is look at those turtle pendants.
Yeah, that's right.
And see an array list of pictures of almost the same thing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But so capitalism, yeah, it's like, yeah. No, capitalism, people just go, well, what sells? That sold. Let's just make a gazillion copies of just that.
Right. And then when it stops selling, they throw those out and find something else they can mass produce.
Yeah, mass produce. Yeah. It's yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that money, or the ability to sustain oneself while doing art, does some sort of a gifting or wealth. Because to be able to do art, you really have to be able to also eat. And if you can't eat, you ain't got time to do much art.
You kind of need shelter and food and clothing and whatever.
So if those things can be sustained, so wealth in a sense has, allowed art to happen. But then the ugly thing has always been that then it's also controlled what the art was.
Yeah.
Because it's like you go to an art museum, I'm trying to just a thing about capitalism. Go to an art museum, they're always, oh, how wonderful, oh, it's amazing. I'm like, how many of them are headshots of rich people?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just making it, or whatever, or something that a rich person said, do this. And so the artist just, it wasn't that like Van Gogh just went buck wild on his own whatever. I mean, yes, he did something, but he did what you told him kind of to do, you constrained. That's all I was saying. It's not like you just said, you know what, do whatever you want. And he
it's
went,
like even like artists doing commissions now, right?
Yeah.
Like in order to sustain their actual art that they like to do and they want to do, they have to sell art and they have to do commissions that are asked for by people who are not artists. So, yeah.
Indeed. But anyway, the past, as you saw 12,000 years ago, people were doing art. People have always done art.
Yeah.
And so I really feel that more humans are artists. It's just, once again, capitalism forces us to do just one job.
Right.
Or whatever, doesn't that allow us to be a fucking full human being?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty rare when a person doesn't have to be like their job and that's it, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Right. You get what I'm trying to say, is that it certainly we become mono people because of capitalism.
Yep, that's right.
And
I think that's I mean, we've talked about that a couple times, me and Justin, on my show, is like,
oh, really?
Like in a socialist society, you wouldn't have to be a welder or a farmer or a doctor. You could be a person who sometimes welds, or a person who sometimes, reads, or is a philosopher, somebody who is sometimes an artist. Sometimes, you don't have to be that thing, only that thing, and you have the freedom to move about in different careers and different ideas. As long as you're doing, something.
Right. Yeah. Well, I feel that like you said, I think that we should have the ability to me, just my own, that we should have the ability to make extra to get extra things. I also agree with you that in the fact that that's my thinking. That I agree with you, or anarcho-communism, that there should also be a free store, and there should also be, it gives free stuff, whatever. And there also should, like I said, free parks and free petting zoos and free medical and free. That's in that people could have others that are not free, that whatever, but there should be free.
Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say? Yeah. That should be just the basic. There should, I'm totally okay with extras on top of, but everybody gets basic. And to me, really, I would prefer everybody in, I don't know, the entire fucking earth, like every fucking human.
Nobody gets seconds until everybody gets firsts for everything.
Because but I'm just saying, I feel like people are like, I would like to, feed France or something, Canada or America. Man, I want the whole world to be not. No one should not get free everything I was saying.
Yeah,
free, right. Like even like it reminds me. I went to this place in Oregon that was called the $3 store.
Okay,
but they had clothes that were like, I don't know, $40 worth, pants or something, but for just $3.
Right.
Everything was $3. It was almost like they were trying to give it away. But I thought that was the most. I was like, you sure this is only $3? And the shirt is $3? Seriously?
I think that's kind of where the idea for like these dollar stores are that you see around came from.
Like,
yeah,
but I know, but it was like way more value for the more than what the price. You're like, are you serious?
I don't know. We have a store here. I don't know how widespread it is, but it's called Value Village, and basically they take donations, and you used to be able to go in there and you could buy a bunch of clothes, and it would be like that. It would be like $3 or $5, or
right.
It'd be like so much better than like more value than you're paying, and that was the whole point, right?
I totally agree, and I've gotten really good stuff doing that. But so I was just making a comment. I got a whole couple outfits. It's like, pants and shirt. Shit, hook it up.
But like
$6 each.
Value Village then became a private for-profit industry or company, so now it's not that way anymore.
Well, yeah, and the store, like I was saying, $3 store, I think it went, out of business, or it couldn't sustain itself or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, and it's also probably because it's the oppression of capitalism. It's kind of hard to really do good things when capitalism is like crushing. But I do agree with mutualism. We should start doing it anyway, as much as possible, and fucking just build this fucking society right out in the core of this fucking old one. But anyways, let's go. Let's go back to the
right. Part of the canal is used by the city of Phoenix today. The Olmecs of Mesoamerica built canals over 4,000 years ago. Chinampas, artificial islands constructed in swamplands and lakes, were invented by Mayan farmers, and the technique became used extensively throughout Mesoamerica, and was later used by the Aztecs as part of the land reclamation process of the city of Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan?
Yeah, something like that. Tenochtitlan.
This technique increased arable land and provided additional farming plots. The population of Mesoamerica grew. In the Northeast woodlands and the Great Lakes region, an advanced society known as the Mound Builders emerged. This society lived in the floodplains of the Mississippi River Basin. This culture farmed mainly maize. They had little need for foraging and grew to an advanced civilization due to food surplus. They were the largest civilization north of the Rio Grande. Native Americans also developed storage systems such as storage containers, which allowed them to store seeds to plant during the next planting season. They also stored food in dugout pits or holes in hillsides. Native Americans developed corn cribs. These were storage bins that were elevated off the ground. This technique prevented moisture and animal intrusion. Selective crop breeding was also employed. Corn is a domestic plant and cannot grow on its own. The first corn grown by Native Americans had small ears and only produced a few kernels per ear. By 2,000 years ago, single stalks with large ears were being produced. Native Americans created over 700 varieties of corn by 1500 CE.
Isn't that crazy?
Selective breeding. That's awesome.
And another interesting thing is that people don't. We basically, Native Americans created corn, right? Or I guess Mexico, but so it's part of North America. But created corn, right? Indigenous people of the Americas. And also potato from South America. And of course, the tomato. Could you imagine Italian food without tomatoes?
Right, eh?
Yeah. Oh, they were from Native Americans.
Yeah.
Chilies, right? I know that there may have been other places in the world, but I do know there was definitely chilies in the Americas.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the best chilies apparently come from South American areas. But.
Right. So I'm just making a comment that a lot of these things that people take for granted today, you know, like could you imagine they have the Irish potato famine? Yeah, the potatoes you got from the Americas?
Yeah, that's right.
But you get what I'm trying to say is that
for sure. We owe a lot to the
that's the right. I wasn't getting that. That's the word. We owe a lot. We should be thankful. Where's the Native American Day or month? Or,
right.
Right. At least,
yeah.
And be forced. I don't know, crazy. When you teach America, teach these wonderful things these Native Americans are doing.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. For these so-called simple people.
Right. And also, of course, make sure the kids acknowledge that the Native American people are still here and still need land back.
That's right.
Like there's a lot of tribes that don't even own like sacred places that is sacred to them at all. And like I told you, it's already totally fucked up. They don't even know Native Americans own the goddamn reservations. I thought they owned those. I was like,
right.
Told you, what the shit?
Yeah, it's
God, colonizers were pieces of garbage.
Yeah. So hands off, hunter and gatherer misconception. Anderson breaks down common misconceptions surrounding the way in which Native Americans lived among nature and shows that their true impact was often one that attracted and invited others to the land they inhabited. Native Americans, regardless of location, were privy to wildlife management such as coppicing, pruning, harrowing, sowing, weeding, burning, digging, thinning, and selective harvesting. These practices were acted out in calculated intervals according to season and by witnessing the signals conveyed by nature to do so, and, on the whole, allowed for sustainable harvest of plants over centuries. Anderson's writing focuses specifically on natives established in California and emphasizes these techniques applied to them to be essential in maintaining and even creating the rich Californian landscapes settlers later happened upon.
Right. So let's start from that. So, once again, like the Amazon, California, when the white people showed up, they went, look what God created. They should have said, wow, look at what the Native Americans have done.
Yeah, look at what the people who live here did with this. Like, this is pretty amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
Jeez. But then, of course, now they're given all due respect for all that. Oh, no, they're not.
Yeah. Not so much.
No, people think hunter-gatherers are simple. Or that Native Americans, no matter what their strategy, were simple.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Yeah, so those are in reference to the coastal prairies, valley grasslands, and oak savannas. Overall, the natives' practices were nature conserving and sustaining due to the specificity of their environmental knowledge, which was learned through more than 12,000 years of trial and error. Anderson also establishes that the natives' practices were most likely not always beneficial or environmentally friendly, though he asserts that there is no real evidence of their destruction available. It is possible that the indigenous peoples in California may have been responsible for the extinction of early regional species. In discussing California natives' tempered land tenure practices, Anderson deconstructs the idea of Native Americans as hunter-gatherers whose sparse population and nomadic ways left little to no mark on the land they traveled. When European and Asian farmers, ranchers, and entrepreneurs established themselves in that same land, the concept of their surroundings that they had perpetuated was one of an uninhabited wilderness untouched by man.
Right. And like I said, which was wrong and bigoted.
Yeah. Though, as Anderson points out, this was never the case. This quote-unquote wilderness was carefully tended to by the natives for hundreds of years, who had both negative and positive impacts on its conservation. It is theorized by Anderson that without the natives' calculated intervention, real wilderness in the form of thickets, dense understory, and wildfire would have deemed the land uninhabitable. In establishing this belief, the foreign settlers not only erased the natives' long history of masterful cultivation from the land, but they pushed their people out of the land as well, establishing a new Eurocentric construction of the American continent. This constructed history has not only diminished native ancestry and culture, but also the land, which is no longer maintained or protected by strategic resource management. The European way of mitigating resource and land depletion follows a hands-off model, which comes from the misconceptions of leave no trace mentioned previously.
Right. So after reading that, has that changed any opinions for you, about what Native Americans were doing?
Well, it sort of reinforces it, right? Yeah, it mostly reinforces it because I did know like that indigenous peoples had variety of ways of dealing with the land, and like that obviously they were here and they left their mark, and they and then yeah, I didn't know this last line where the European way of mitigating resource and land depletion, the leave it alone so it can flourish again idea, that is based on the misconception that the indigenous people had never left no trace and were never there.
Right.
I didn't realize that. That's pretty telling. When we get things wrong, we really get them wrong.
We really do. But I'm just saying, but don't you see that hands off, like those naked people are doing nothing, that hands off model that we think they are doing is actually bullshit.
Yeah, it was never true, right? Yeah.
But it perpetuates that, simple hunter-gatherers.
Right.
Just like I said, that Jimmy Corsetti, whatever his name was.
Yeah, something like that.
He said that hunter-gatherers can't build Göbekli Tepe. Motherfucker, hunter-gatherers build all kinds of shit.
Yeah, that's right. You're just wrong, man.
Well, there's art. Yeah, there's art 12,000 years old in the Amazon.
Yeah,
so fuck off with your racist bullshit. Right?
Foolishness.
So they can do art and
they can build things.
They can build things. Wow.
Yeah.
Put those two together. Ooh, that's not special either.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyways, it's not like a hunter-gatherer can't do it. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. No, it's absurd. So we got Neolithic chief/chiefdom leaders grave in Europe.
Right, and some people, by the way, think that they almost can have a chief, but not exactly chiefdoms.
Okay.
Because a chiefdom is about a real hierarchy structure. So just to be more accurate, throw detail. Because I know I did this one blog and this archaeologist read and goes, "Oh, that's a pretty good read." Some parts could have added some context, and then I'm like, well, I know you could always sit here all day long adding context.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like, I appreciate it. It's good. I welcome. And he said, hope it doesn't, offend you. Oh no, it doesn't offend me. You can check me all day long. I said, I'm a philosopher. To me, challenge is important and it's necessary. And guess what? It's also normal. Challenge is normal.
It's how we get better ideas.
Anyways, so you know, when it comes to chief, in other words, because that's like in Indonesia, they were calling, I think it's Indonesia, they were calling it big men or whatever.
Okay.
And I think it's because they have less either hierarchy or less control, but they still are like a status. There is a status, you know what I'm saying? But a chief sort of, but it's lacking the total package or whatever of, chiefdom,
Right.
which is more hierarchy and more social control. Whereas like this person does this, there's way more. And just like a lot of chiefdoms do, like in say a society, because some societies they have multiple wives or whatever, right?
Right.
Or something like that. And but there's one in ones even where there's sometimes none, right? So everybody's monogamous. The chief is not.
Okay.
As often two wives. No, everyone else is one wife. This person's two wives or more or whatever.
Interesting.
I'm just saying it's a status thing. So, but sometimes the status leads to more wealth, which is, a different kind of thing, but it doesn't always. And so, but also I think that, just like in general, it's a category, like shaman, right? Of course, there's all kinds of things that go different ways from what that, meaning is.
Right. Depending on the dynamic of a particular place and time and people, right?
Right. And I think that, and I know we try to, and I do, that's my goal actually, to try to really simplify so people can get all this really hard stuff.
Yeah.
Not to make it more complex.
Yeah, that's right.
But it is good to acknowledge sometimes there is more complex stuff. So even though this, already seems complex, it's actually more complex than that.
Right. Yeah.
So, all right. Just to give you an idea about that.
Okay. So we've got, Neolithic chief/chiefdom leader's grave in Europe. A 6,800-year-old skeleton has been unearthed in Germany belonging to a person who lived as far back as 4,800 BC. Excuse me. The remains are thought to belong to an older man from a Neolithic community who may have been a figure of local importance akin to a village leader or mayor, according to Florian Ebel, the district archaeologist overseeing the excavation. The skeleton, named Exinger, after its place of discovery near Exing in Bavaria, is thought to be considerably older than the famous Otzi the Iceman, who lived approximately 5,300 years ago. The Neolithic period spanned approximately between 7,000 BC and 2,000 BC and marks the transition from nomadic hunter-gatherer lifestyles to settled agricultural communities. During this time, humans began to cultivate crops and domesticate animals and started to build permanent homes and villages. The bones were found alongside several items, including eating and drinking vessels, dyes for body painting, a blade, and a stone axe. There was also a small bag that had been decorated with two halves of a boar's tusk, indicating the person's high status, containing fire-making tools. The bag may have contained a colored stone as well as pyrite and flint as a lighter. The bag trim consisted of a split boar's tusk, a badge of rank at the time. Ebel told local news Bayer Ischer Radfunk 24, the finding of the body alongside these grave goods suggests that the body is male, and the fact that it was buried in a grave at all, uncommon for the time, implies that the person may have been an authority figure in the community.
Right, and I told you that I, believe Germany 7,000 years ago, which 6,800 years is pretty much on the dot, right? I mean, that's not far off
That's
from my 7,000, just rough number.
Yep.
But to the same burial, I'm just saying. So this person they're saying is an authority. Like I said it to you, I think this is the birth of what we think of as capitalism. It wasn't just authority. These people were getting wealth.
Right.
And they were taking the wealth from the people who were doing all the labor.
Right.
And then, anyways, so I'm just making a comment that this relates to what I've talked about, or my opinion about before. You remember that, right?
Yep.
Primitive capitalism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. To me, it's a primitive form. Just in other words, like, I'm not saying it has to be like fully formed to what people think of corporations and whatever.
Sure.
But this is a primitive form. Someone is benefiting from the labor of others.
Yeah.
In a way that's absolutely, it's not like socialism, like everybody was getting their own plot. No, some fucker had 2 whole pastures barned in, and everybody else didn't even have a big house. Like, oh fuck no.
Yeah.
He's got the house is like 3 times the size of the normal houses, and then he's got both sides have got, fenced in areas that he can, protect and grow his stuff. And then, of course, what the fence does too is the stuff he grows inside there, that's his, and then he can distribute to the people for, a profit. And probably doesn't work on the farm. He probably hires laborers.
Yeah.
Right. To come and do his he's got him on both sides. He's tending both farms and all this. And
right.
But anyways, I'm just making a comment that I already told you before. I think that relates to that. But also as chieftains, going back to the same thing, that somehow people, like Europe, think that they're better than that. Like, dude, your ancestors are chieftains too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Prehistoric European chiefdoms rethinking Germanic societies.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Inequality is a somewhat slippery concept, as Price and Hayden stress in their contributions to this volume. Any society is liable to contain potential aggrandizers, and the constraints that suppress these ambitious individuals altogether are imposed only by relatively few societies, all of them, in the ethnographic record at least, operating in extremely harsh environments where risk pooling is imperative and individual accumulation is counterproductive. As a result, one can find some foreshadowing of the characteristics of fully developed, quote-unquote, complexity in almost any simple society. Within the household, as Blanton indicates in his contribution, inequality is pervasive, and households are the charters for society. Marginalization, the dimension of inequality emphasized in Arnold's contribution, likewise occurs at all social scales, within households as well as between them, within settlements and between them, within polities and between them, and so on. The whole thrust of Bayesian relativism was to stress these continuities in the social evolutionary scale. The similarities to be found in the societies of vastly different scales suggest their essential parity as historical outcomes. Mm-hmm.
And as you know, people try to take things like Germanic societies and make all kinds of mythological bullshit.
Right.
Great white race and all dumb crap.
Yeah.
So why did Europe's hunter-gatherers disappear?
Right. There are many mysteries surrounding Europe's hunter-gatherers, but farming played a role in their demise. Researchers don't yet know the exact set of circumstances that drove Europe's hunter-gatherers to disappear, but their decline broadly coincided with the spread of farming in the region. Neolithic farmers arrived in Europe around 8,000 years ago and ultimately replaced hunter-gatherers after a period of sharing the continent with them. Farmers started to push into Europe from the Near East, bringing domesticated animals and domesticated plants. And then there is a coexistence of farmers and hunter-gatherers until 5,000 years ago, when the hunter-gatherers disappeared. Cosimo Post, a professor of archaeo and paleogenetics at the University of Tübingen in Germany. The hunter-gatherers mostly kept to themselves when farmers arrived around 6,000 years later, and while the farming population gradually took on hunter-gatherer genes, the hunter-gatherer population remained genetically distinct. DNA from a 7,000-year-old male hunter-gatherer in Spain revealed he had blue eyes and dark skin.
Isn't that weird? The Europeans in Spain used to have blue eyes and dark skin.
Right. That's an interesting combination, eh?
Right.
This was the case for most hunter-gatherers across Europe after 14,000 years ago, while the farmers of the time had lighter skin and dark eyes. Post said, as farming spread across Europe, hunter-gatherers lost land. The last hunter-gatherer moved towards the fringes of Europe, towards areas where they weren't in direct competition with farmers, Post said.
Right. In other words, the colonizers are coming and the indigenous people are slowly getting pushed off.
Yeah, they're getting pushed and pushed and pushed.
Like I said, that one that I was watching about Brazil, they were being pushed out by the stupid fucking loggers illegally going in there and taking their land.
Yeah. Yeah, so then the land they inhabit is smaller and smaller until they finally don't have any.
There you go.
There are still many unknowns surrounding how the two groups interacted with each other. Some hunter-gatherers ended up living in or around farming communities. For example, the roughly 5,800-year-old burial of a hunter-gatherer individual is what is now Denmark, known as Dragsholmen, shows that he was buried with hunter-gatherer grave goods, but that he had a diet matching that of early European farmers. This means he adopted the culture and diet of immigrant farmers, according to a 2024 study published in the journal Nature. A 2024 study published in the journal PLOS-1 found that a farming community in Denmark violently sacrificed a male hunter-gatherer from Norway or Sweden around 5,200 years ago. Ritual sacrifice wasn't necessarily a punishment for the hunter-gatherer, and he may have been an immigrant or trader who gained equal social standing among the farmers, or he may have been a captive or enslaved person, the study authors noted. Some hunter-gatherer communities likely suffered violent deaths at the hands of farmers and received new pathogens from their livestock. For example, hunter-gatherers in Denmark were quickly wiped out a few generations after farmers arrived, around 5,900 years ago, according to the 2024 Nature study. Anders Fischer, an independent archaeologist and author of both studies, told Live Science the farmers rapidly grew in numbers as they spread and may have been warlike in their approach to the hunter-gatherers.
I read another study before that said they were absolutely warlike.
Yeah. Those late hunter-gatherers did not decide to be farmers, Fisher said. Somebody decided on their behalf, and maybe they were wiped out of existence in the same process. Early Celtic elites inherited power through the maternal lines, ancient DNA reveals. The early Celts may have inherited power through their mother's side, according to an ancient DNA analysis of lavish burials in Europe. Enormous ancient burial mounds filled with luxurious artifacts may link elite members of an extended family in southern Germany along maternal lines, a new DNA analysis shows. So
the point of why this is important is that they think of, in a sense, a lot of Europeans as like that it's a male-dominated culture, but yet it's a culture that's maternal. Not paternal, which people think of male-dominated cultures generally are paternal cultures.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all. But that's what I was just saying too. That there's a complexity that often people, once again, forget that even maternal type of breed, which is usually related to clans,
Right.
because that's how the DNA stayed that way.
Yeah.
Anyways, and we know that they had clans, but anyways, the fact that all that is going on is also religious,
Mm-hmm.
because remember the reason also they think that they should be because to me, like, the clan itself is say is not religious, but the totem itself even can be almost not exactly a religious thing. It can be a symbol of the clan, but the religion goes to the totem and then goes to the clan, and so that there's like a link in a sense. See what I'm saying? That's the bridge that makes all this make sense.
Right.
Is religion. So I'm just saying, sometimes people would say, like, oh, kinship patterns, whatever. It's a totemistic clan system that basically is utilizing the belief system of a religion.
Ah.
But like, you get
Okay.
what I'm trying to say. So
It's interesting.
we know that we know that they had a religion. I'm just trying to explain how you can tell the clan system, because the way that I feel like the way it's said is almost like a European, or a Christian, that there's no like a religious exactly significance to your breeding patterns, other than, there's, it has to be heterosexual and has to be, whatever it has. But I'm just saying the other clan patterns are a religious thing. The clans aren't, but and it's that same thing. Like, clans aren't exactly the totem or the moiety, which is like the way that they do it, because it's either a totem or a moiety, or sometimes the totem is in the moiety system. Yeah. Once again, it can be a little, depends on, because there's like, it's like, do you mean the stuff in Papua New Guinea or the stuff in New Zealand, or do you mean the stuff in, like the ones that are more pure or more extensively or obviously totemistic, because you haven't added so much paganism really, to me.
Right.
It makes it more obvious. But my point is, when you have these, they stand out. So even in the ones that stand out, like all these ones, so Africa has the ones that stand out. There's different, places they stand out, especially now. Probably before, of course, Christianity and everything took over, there might have been also many other that, kind of were like that too.
Right.
But I'm saying, presently now, even now, they're not 100% the same. They have a lot of similarities, but you get what I'm saying, that once again, not simple.
Right. Yeah, definitely not simple. There's a lot going on.
Right. So that's all I was just trying to say, is that, but I feel like when they're talking DNA, never forget that they're also really, they're talking religion. This is a cultural and religion type of a reason this occurs.
Makes sense. An uncle and nephew buried in two of the richest burial mounds, along with evidence of first cousin inbreeding, point strongly toward matrilineal dynasties of elite power, according to the study, which was published Monday, June 3rd, in the journal Nature Human Behavior. Between about 600 and 400 BC, during the Iron Age, burial mounds containing gold jewelry, wagons, and imported goods were built in what is now southwestern Germany, eastern France, and Switzerland. The people buried in these mounds wielded immense political and religious power and are often called early Celtic princes and princesses. But researchers have disagreed as to whether these people gained their status through a lifetime of achievements or inherited power. The team discovered a second-degree relationship, likely an uncle and nephew, between two male individuals who shared maternal ancestry. Both men were buried in richly appointed neighboring mounds and appear to have grown up in the local area, according to study co-author Dirk Kraus, lead archaeologist for the German state of Baden-Württemberg Both men were also among the tallest on record in Iron Age Germany, standing around 5 feet 11 inches, or 1.8 meters tall, which suggests that they may have benefited from good nutrition in addition to sharing genes for tall stature. Another biological link was found between a woman and a man who were buried in mounds about 60 miles, or 100 kilometers, and a century apart. This is an exceedingly rare discovery that probably represents a great-grandmother and her great-grandson, the study authors said.
Right, so pause just a second. The reason I added this stuff in was to give context to the fucking colonizers, right?
Right.
The colonizers think it's always been God's way of one man, one woman. It's always been, it's always been men are in power, and this is showing that that's not accurate.
That's just not the case.
Well, yeah, just making a comment that the what they think it isn't accurate. They have this fake history. It's like I always like to do fight the pseudo shit,
Right.
Pseudoarchaeology, pseudohistory, because a lot of times they use it like in political or whatever to real fucked up shit in the world or justify their bigotry.
Right. For sure.
Not even correct. Yeah, it's not always been one man, one woman. It's not always been all this bullshit you say. It's not always been, there has been trans people and they were okay. And, it's like,
yeah.
No.
Yeah. These things that don't fit into the specific worldview that certain people have aren't new. They've always been part of humanity. This is, it's absurd to be enforcing like these kind of rigid roles on people.
Right. And then acting as if they're the thing it's always been.
Yeah.
Like that's the natural order, right?
Right.
Natural order of things.
Yeah, they love using that one.
It's absolute literal bullshit. Yeah, the completely controlled and dominated. Yeah, there's no natural nothing about it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. It's not natural, I think, to really just hate without being some impression. Because you literally look at how children interact. Before you know you shouldn't, you absolutely most open hearts,
Yep. No discrimination is natural.
Yeah, no. We're not born with original sin. Come on now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What a foolish idea.
Yeah, it is. Anyways,
all right. So when the researchers tested the skeletons for evidence of recent inbreeding, they found that two people were most likely born to first cousin parents. This sort of biological evidence for inbreeding is also rare in archaeogenetic studies, which may suggest that it was more frequent among these Celtic elites than among other archaeological populations. According to the study, family connections among the burial mounds strongly suggest a pattern of hereditary leadership that was organized along the maternal line. The researchers concluded in their study, although power was wielded primarily by men, rich burials of women in the region showcased their high status as well. Matrilineal inheritance of power was not common in Iron Age Europe, and it is also relatively rare around the world. The specific pattern that the researchers discovered among the early Celtic elite is called matrilinear avunculate organization, which can arise when extramarital mating is common and therefore paternity confidence is low, leading men to be more sure that they are genetically related to their sister's children. If a ruler has children on their own but passes power to their sister's children, then there might be incentive to merge the direct and the sister's lineage, which would then result in first cousins and matings through the female line. Study co-author Stephen Schiffels a population geneticist at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology, told Live Science in an email, but we cannot prove such a scenario from the genetic data. Then why even say it? I've got this thing.
He also can just say at the beginning, here's my speculation.
Yeah, he could have said that right at the start. Right. Like, this is a speculation. I don't have evidence in the genetic data to show it.
Right.
Oh, very funny. Prehistoric farmers. In much of North America, the shift from generalized foraging and horticultural experimentation to a way of life dependent on domesticated plants occurred about 1000 BCE or around 3000 years ago, although regional variation from this date is common. Corn, or maize, early forms of which had been grown in Mexico since at least 5000 BCE, around 7000 years ago, appeared among archaic groups in the southwest cultural area by about 1200 BCE, and in the eastern woodlands by about perhaps 100 BCE. Other Mesoamerican domesticates, such as chili peppers, and cotton, did not appear in either region until approximately the beginning of the Common Era, although the importance of these foreign domesticates increased over time. Most Native American groups retained the use of locally domesticated plants for several centuries. For instance, improvements to sumpweed continued until about 1500 CE, after which the plants abruptly returned to their wild state. It is unclear why sumpweed fell out of favor, although some have suggested that its tendency to cause hay fever and contact dermatitis may have contributed to the demise of its domesticated forms.
Mm-hmm.
Others believe that the timing of the event, coincident with the first wave of European conquest, suggests that the cultural disruption initiated this change. Notably, many other indigenous American domesticates, including sunflowers, squashes, beans, and tobacco, have persisted as economically important crops into the 21st century. Although prehistoric farming communities exhibited regional and temporal variation, they shared certain similarities. For the most part, farming groups were more sedentary than archaic peoples, although the dearth of domesticated animals in North America, turkeys and dogs being the exception, meant that most households or communities continued to engage in hunting forays. Agriculturists, housing, and settlements tended to be more substantial than those of archaic groups, and their communities were often protected by walls or ditches. Many also developed hierarchical systems of social organization, wherein a priestly or chiefly class had authority over one or more classes of commoners.
Right. So as you know, we've talked about before, that to me, when you're an anarchist, people think like, you're like going to go break or rob things or whatever. But to me, what I think of it is an anti-hierarchical, mindset, value structure.
Yep.
It literally can't be that. If you're like way into hierarchy, you stop. Don't call yourself an anarchist.
Yep. Yeah. So if you for me, the hierarchy means that like certain people have more control over those around them, right? So like it doesn't mean that somebody isn't. I think sometimes we get mixed up. People say like, oh well, then you don't believe in experts, or you don't believe in order, or you don't believe in like doing rules or what have you, right? And you go like, well, no, I just don't think that anybody has the authority to dictate things to those around them. Or in the case of the United States, there's no way that a president has the ability to dictate the correct thing for 330 million people.
I told you, if they said I had to keep the system, I could make some changes. I guarantee the first thing I'd do is the hierarchy thing. Because once again, to me, that really, I told you before, no president, no governors, no mayors, none of, That's all the chieftains. Yeah, take all the chieftains away.
Exactly.
Let's start with that. Yeah. Then of course you got to take away the police force because all those thugs are for the chieftains.
Yep.
Benefit. And I'm not pro no safety, but it's just like I read this article recently that talked about that. They said, that it's really bad that the bump in like trying to do change the police to be better after George Floyd got strangled or whatever.
Yep.
Then they said they now see it dropping back down.
Yeah.
Now people, and I'm sure if Trump gets in, which it looks like he probably will. So if Trump gets in, he's masterfully wants the police state to become militaristic. He already wanted to use the military or whatever against the Black Lives Matter people. I mean,
yeah,
it is absolutely going to be fucking more and more fascism. That's why, to me, that's so crazy. He picks that guy, right? The running mate,
J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance, that literally said he's America's Hitler.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing
he should have finished that sentence because he's like, but I'm fine with that.
Well, not only that, Trump would take that as a compliment.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He's America's Hitler, and I want to be his vice president.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah. See, how could just think of that? How much capitalism corrupts? Literally, come on. What ethical human being would actually say someone is Hitler, right? That everyone acknowledges on almost every side is a terrible person.
Yeah.
Or should, because come on.
Yeah.
But anyways, my point is, so this terrible person, and then this fucker likes him?
It's the nature of, I guess, like the politics of the system, right? It nobody has any moral consistency. They never have any ethical consistency. They say things, they don't mean them, they don't care about them. They say things because they think that it'll make them look good.
Yeah.
It's actually narcissism. That's literally narcissism.
It's pretty crazy. I'm just saying, it's like,
yeah.
And even Nikki Haley, who had said that he was unfit for office and all this stuff, and dissed her military husband.
Right.
So he couldn't be here when he was serving in the military that Trump supposedly supports. He doesn't though, but yeah.
Yeah.
And, but right, so he dissed her, literally dissed her husband. So that's why she hated him so much. But she went there because of capitalism, was like, yes, you should vote for Trump. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, the guy that dissed your husband?
Yeah. What's the Ted Cruz? That's the guy. He did the same thing back in fucking 2016, right?
Yeah.
He was like, he during the primary, him and Trump were at each other's throats, and Trump insulted his wife. And then when Trump gets the nomination, well, then Cruz is fucking making cold calls for him. Like he's working the phones for Trump. Yeah, come on.
Oh God, how that con man has got to go down in history as the greatest con man. He literally has these fucking fools jumping and fucking snapping for him. It's unreal.
For all of his bullshit, he is very good at politics. Like not because he's smart. I don't think it's because he's smart. I think he's just got that instinct. Like he knows, okay, I can tell this lie right now and it doesn't matter and it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Like most people in the situation with the shooting wouldn't have thought to put their fist up and say, fight, but he did. It's not because he's a smart guy. It's because he has that instinct, that manipulation instinct. He knew that would rile people up and he just did it.
Well, because just think, the shooter could have then took a headshot
Yeah.
Because he went up above the people protecting him. Remember, they're literally supposed to cocoon him.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, with human bodies.
Yeah.
But he literally popped out and went like that. Half his body, his chest is out. I mean, what? She could have got a heart shot. Chest is way easier than the head.
Yeah.
I mean,
he didn't do the smart
I agree
thing.
with you, so I don't disagree.
He didn't do the smart thing, but he did the politically advantageous thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I know. It's
wild. It's wild.
And then he was golfing, had no thing on his ear, and then he shows up at the convention with the My Pillow Guy's thing on his ear.
It's all about the show, right? It's all about the show. It wasn't even the bullet that grazed his ear. It broke some glass nearby, and the glass cut his ear. This is not a man who was shot. He was shot at, yes, and some other poor guy ended up dying.
Yeah.
But Trump.
I know. I've seen where they were saying something about an angel helped him. The bullet moved the bullet. Yeah, it moved a bullet from a con man into a firefighter. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. The angel was like, yeah, this guy who saved people by pulling them out of burning buildings, he's okay to go. But the guy who's up here stealing millions from his supporters, we'll leave him alive.
You see what I'm saying? Absolute nonsense.
Nonsense. Pure nonsense.
Like if there was literally a deity, they literally would not be supporting Trump. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Let's go. Finish.
Sure. Yeah. So who has the largest burial mound? Study examines differences among the upper classes of prehistoric societies. A study by the Roots Cluster of Excellence has revealed, for the first time, differences in wealth between the upper classes of prehistoric societies. Reducing inequality between countries, but also between individuals, is one of the United Nations sustainability goals. At the same time, there is a new global trend showing that wealth is increasingly concentrated among a small group of people.
Pause for 1 second. Remember the United Nations, right? They tried to have a thing about taking care of children or whatever. The United States would not sign it.
Yeah.
What? I mean, just.
I don't know if you know this, but I don't believe. Yeah, the United States government is not comprised of the good people.
But right, you're right. The child should have, because it was like saying child should have some autonomy. They should have some rights. Oh my! I mean, crazy stuff. Child should have rights. Oh my! What? You don't own them as a physical piece of property that you can do whatever with. Like the fuck?
Yeah. No, it's absurd.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up. United Nations, fucking United Nations, but yet it's just like that. It just reminds me. So the U.S. loves to look at the United Nations as they're part of like a big brother to this whole thing. That's great. Yeah. They don't listen when they talk.
No.
Not if it's what they don't want to hear.
That's right.
And the same thing. I was to make one other point. And then the same thing. The world, what is it? I don't remember now. The court, whatever. The
ICC or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. The judges, the things, for between nations or whatever.
Yeah.
Almost like the United Nations, but like a United Nations court, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so which I have heard America presidents or whatever people, make comments about how wonderful that is. They think that, but they have been in violation more than one time because they actually don't care what they say. If it's about other people, then it's all good. If it's about America, fuck you.
Yeah. Well, and maybe we talked about this before, but isn't there like an actual law in the United States that says if the ICC ever tries to go after a sitting or any president, that it's like declaring war on the United States. like, like,
Right,
so,
because the United States believes in justice,
right. Yeah.
yeah,
There's,
or the
they believe
rule
so
of law.
strongly in the rule of law that, yeah, they'll
We believe in the international rule of law. No, you don't.
just as long as nobody ever tries to hold us accountable for anything. We can't have that.
Yep.
Other
Yeah,
leaders, sure, but
Yeah,
not
but
us.
America always demands some, that they can, extradite people to America to whatever.
Yeah.
But yet America, doesn't like to be treated that way themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting crazy,
Yeah.
Anyway, so back that that inequality. So let's
Right. What leads to social inequality and what effects can it have? In order to answer such fundamental questions, research is also looking at the distant past of human societies. As part of the Roots Cluster of Excellence at Keele University, CAU, economists, archaeologists have now provided first evidence of inequality within the upper classes of society in Central Europe during the first 4,000 years before the Common Era. In our study, we can approximate the wealth of individual prehistoric people. This perspective allows completely new insights into the differences in wealth within the upper segment of societies at the time, explains Johan Marzian from the Kiel Institute for the World Economy, and member of the Roots Cluster of Excellence. He's one of the two main authors of the study, which has now been published in the journal Humanities and Social Sciences Communications. To gain insights into the dynamics of wealth inequality in prehistoric Central Europe, the team collected data on the size and structure of 5,000 individual burial mounds. The authors then calculated the volume of these burial mounds as a measure of the wealth of the buried individuals. The data set allows us to measure not only material wealth, but also a person's involvement in networks or influence within a community. Anyone who was able to have a larger burial mound built than their neighbor obviously had a greater economic and political ability to mobilize people and resources, explains the second lead author, Dr. Julian Labs, who is now an assistant professor of digital archaeology at Leipzig University. In addition to the data on the burial mounds, information on the number of people buried in flat and collective graves was also included in the study. The authors used this information to approximate the size of the upper societal segment in relation to the entire population. The subsequent data analysis showed that there was a high degree of inequality among the individuals buried in mounds over the entire 4,000-year study. However, the extent of inequality fluctuated. We were able to link these changes over time to certain technological advances, climate and population changes, or socio-political changes, says Labs. Overall, however, there is an increasing trend in inequality in the upper social segment. Of course, the study does not capture inequality across the entire spectrum of society, but inequality and the resulting tensions in the upper social segment can have an impact on the entire society, explains Marzian. With this study, the authors provide an initial overview of inequality within the upper societal segment in prehistoric Central Europe. We see it as a first step and a starting point for further research. For example, it would be interesting to study other regions and extend the time frame of the study. We also know little about inequality in other social segments and its origins, emphasizes Marzian. Big man, anthropology. A big man is a highly influential individual in a tribe, especially in Melanesia and Polynesia. Such a person may not have formal tribal or other authority, though, for instance, material possessions or inheritance or rights. Through material possessions or inheritance of rights, but can maintain recognition through skilled persuasion and wisdom. The big man has a large group of followers, both from his clan and from other clans. He provides his followers with protection and economic assistance, in return receiving support which he uses to increase his status. The American anthropologist Marshall Salins has studied the big man phenomenon. In his much-quoted 1963 article, Poor Man, Rich Man, Big Man, Chief, Political Types in Melanesia, Salins uses analytically constructed ideal types of hierarchy and equality to compare a larger-scale Polynesian-type hierarchical society of chiefs and sub-chiefs with a Melanesian-type big man system. The latter consists of segmented lineage groups locally held together by faction leaders who compete for power in the social structure of the horizontally arranged and principally equal groupings, factions. Here, leadership is not ascribed, but rather gained through action and competition with other ambitious men. A big man's position is rarely secured as an inherited position at the top of a hierarchy. Rather, big men commonly compete with one another in an ongoing process of reciprocity and redistribution of material and political resources, spreading the word of his power and capabilities, thereby establishing reputation and recognition among outsiders. Requires the delivery of resources as a tribute to relevant big men of other groups. Simultaneously, he must secure resources for his own followers in order to maintain their satisfaction and confidence in his leadership. As such, the big man is subject to a transactional order based on his ability to effectively balance these mutually opposed tasks. Concepts of the role and what it entails are relatively fluid and can vary between groups. Typically, any authority a big man may possess is neither formally defined nor universally recognized by others. His position is usually not heritable, and his descendants are not guaranteed the right to succession or any other elevated status. In the island of Malaita, in Solomon's Islands, the big man system is dying away, but the big man system can be seen at the political level. Every 4 years in the Solomon Islands, national elections, the system can be seen, especially in the Melanesian Islands. The first use of the term may be found in the English translation of something I can't pronounce in 1907 by Richard Parkinson. The term may be often found in many historical works dealing with Papua New Guinea. Andrew Strathern applies the concept of big man to a community in Mount Hagen, Papua New Guinea. Traditionally, among peoples of non-Austronesian speaking communities, authority was obtained by a man, the so-called big man, recognized as performing most capably in social, political, economic, and ceremonial activities. His function was not to command, but to influence his society through his example. He was expected to act as a negotiator with neighboring groups and to periodically redistribute food, generally produced by his wives. In this sense, he was seen as ensuring the well-being of his community. Such a system is still found in many parts of Papua New Guinea and other parts of Melanesia. A tribal chief, chieftain, or headman is the leader of a tribal society or chiefdom. The concept of tribe is a broadly applied concept based on tribal concepts of societies of Western Afro-Eurasia. Tribal societies are sometimes categorized as an intermediate stage between the band society of the Paleolithic stage and civilization with centralized super-regional government based in cities. Anthropologist Elman Service distinguishes two stages of tribal societies: simple societies organized by limited instances of social rank and prestige, and more stratified societies led by chieftains or tribal chiefdoms. Stratified tribal societies led by tribal kings are thought to have flourished from the Neolithic stage into the Iron Age, albeit in competition with urban civilizations and empires beginning in the Bronze Age.
Right, so Neolithic is definitely, it means New Stone Age, and it's basically it coincides with agriculture almost. It's basically about 12,000, and that's about the time of agriculture. So it's just saying from that, like I told you, that's about time of slavery. That and 11,000, whatever, 500 or something. is the time in Korkut-Tepe and eastern Turkey, southeastern Turkey, that they made that first, I think, authority symbol, which is a mace head.
Oh, okay.
And then by 8,000, I know those mace heads are now in Ukraine, or became,
Okay.
so it migrated up into from the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
And by 4,000, for sure, they're in China. But from the Middle East, this concept of power, and you crack people's head. I'm just saying, it comes from Turkey.
Right. Right.
I was just telling you, around the time of the Neolithic, around the time of agriculture, around the time of slavery, around the time, and like I said, in that village, the stuff that they did with stones, so amazing, and so much of it in like ritual use, and I mean, you could literally, like I said, buy it today, and yet you had it. It looks like some, like I said, like somebody was demanding, no, that needs to be exactly 4 centimeters or whatever.
Right. Yeah. It's not good enough. Crack.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
But yeah. But as you see too, there's different ways that things that people, how they do it, but it's still inequality to an anarchist.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, do it all the ways you want. Like, call it whatever you want. But like, yeah, if you're giving one guy authority over the people around him,
go.
Yeah.
I'm not with that shit at all.
Yeah.
One dude, no, fuck no.
Yeah. One guy with his own self-interest doing this, supposedly as a service to his people, but mostly in service of himself, it seemed like.
I mean, to me, if people think that somehow and the anarchists and the elite politicians, they should be as important as the person that currently does your electric. You don't know who the fuck they are, do you? I have no fucking clue. Right? There's no voting. They don't have to. But here's the thing: the reason is they just do their job. We decide they just do their job. To me, it should be you just do. If you don't do your job, you lose your job. You're not in that position if you can't manage it. And I'm just saying that
that's the anarchist delegate model, right? Okay,
right.
You're put in this
delegate.
position.
There you go.
You go and you say what we want you to say, and if you don't do that job, then you don't get to do that job.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You don't do anything. Yeah, I think you just always the best model is how can we remove power as much as possible.
Yeah.
That's right. Just always the better way of doing it.
How horizontal can we make this?
Yeah, literally should be the goal.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm just saying that I
for sure.
Yeah.
In the case of tribal societies of indigenous peoples existing within larger colonial and post-colonial states, tribal chiefs may represent their tribe or ethnicity in a form of self-government. Classical sources of information about tribal societies are external descriptions such as from...
I want to make a pause for a second. But I do agree, the fact that even being anarchist, if someone really wants to, have someone be over them, that, just like to me, if someone wants to go play football or something, I don't like football. In fact, like I told you before, just even they did a study in I don't know if it's England or Europe, but at least anyway, somewhere over there. And they did a study, and every time that they play, domestic violence rise. Just whether or not they win or lose, just them the playing, just the fact, or a season or whatever, just the fact that it's that they're playing, it just higher domestic violence all time, right?
Wow.
Now, when they actually lose, the domestic violence was 38% jump.
Oh, geez.
when they won, it was only 11%.
But it still went up over
Still,
the
literally, they're still beating their freaking spouse when they're happy. Like, what kind of sick fucking, like, it's all sick, but I mean,
yeah,
fucking what the fuck?
yeah. What's happening there?
Well, I already told you what I think. These are actually warrior cult games.
Yeah.
That teach you how to be as a unit and how to do certain skills that, to me, generally related to, like I said, war or whatever. Sometimes it'd be cultural skills, I'm sure, too, that were not just war, but it's still that you have to be able to eat as a warrior or you can't do much fighting.
Right.
You're starving and you're dying. Anyway, so I guess you can learn to steal. But or have people help you, but you get what I'm trying to say. That there's
it's something about the ritual that comes with the football season, right?
And that's all I was trying to say is they don't get that it always has been toxic. You would have to do a lot of stuff to, which they would call woke, of course, but to make it untoxic. Like, just think, most people know there's hazing.
Right.
As if it's just a normal, right. This was always warrior cult.
Yeah.
It was never meant to be fucking positive as if people act like.
Yeah.
To me. So, yeah. Just saying, and to history, and, you know, which we already had talked about before. But I'm just making a comment to me. So it's this kind of behavior. So, which we, know that when one person or when a group of people think that they, and like groups fighting groups, so they go, oh yeah, it's positive. Yeah, it's groups fighting groups. It's individuals fight. It's sports. Sports is individuals fighting each other and groups fighting groups.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, how could that possibly lead to more spousal abuse?
Right, eh? Yeah. It's like you say, like it's just the whole the increase in like the warrior or honor culture or toxic masculinity or whatever you want to call it, right? Like,
because of course warrior culture is definitely toxic masculinity. Yes.
Yeah.
But so, you said you go to the manosphere. I've never done that. Just
I watch some of their, like, it's weird, like because I watch some of their stuff, but I use an alternative account so it doesn't mess with my algorithm because I want my leftist videos on to be accessible on the account I'm on the most.
Right.
But now my main account is getting inundated with like what it's like to be a man in the water world, or like, and they've got like I was telling my counselor, they've got these thumbnails where it's like just one white guy in the middle, and they've got like whatever background, but it's got the word feminism on it, but it's got a question mark after it. It's like videos like, is feminism a bad for society or shit like that. You go like, fuck, come on. Like, no, I don't want to see that shit on my regular feed. Like, I watch that stuff so I can keep informed with some of the toxic shit that's being said.
Right.
But I don't want it on my regular feed. Like, I don't want to see that every day. But
also you get to hear about the past too with me.
Yes. Yeah. No, and actually I get some of that now too. Is like, I don't know what, I think YouTube changed their algorithm, so now it's like more sensitive or something. Like it kind of gets it gives me more of like history stuff now than it used to.
Cool.
So yeah, I guess there's some good out of it.
Yes. But anyway, so are you starting to see how the different systems are going on?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's like you say, like it's all hierarchy, right? But it is different styles in a sense,
right?
Or different types,
right?
I think in this last sentence that it said in this one, in the case of tribal societies of indigenous peoples existing within larger colonial and post-colonial states, tribal chiefs may represent their tribe or ethnicity in a form of self-government. But in a lot of those, in a still colonial state like Canada, a lot of those self-governments are not traditional tribal chiefs. They're chiefs elected in Western European colonized style, right?
Right.
So we've enforced our form of governance onto tribes within Canada anyway. Which is, we call it a chief. They still call it a chief, but it's like the same way we do things, and it's like much more prone to corruption. It's much more prone to abuse because of that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, speaking of corruption, they there's a place in Africa. I can't remember where, but which country it was, but they have like mainly women like running like the finance and all these different things in the government. I can't remember how much, because I don't want to say like 70% or something, but it's like a humongous percentage. It's like women, like
right.
And then they're like, why? And they're like, well, women have been shown to be less corrupt. It's safer in the long run. Wow,
that's pretty good. It's pretty good actually, because after colonization, a lot of places that were colonized by Europe in Africa adopted some pretty patriarchal standards, which maybe I don't know, some of them might have had before, but a lot of them didn't have it before, and then they had it after colonization. So
yeah, which we call civilization when it's really inequality. It's like,
yeah, that's right.
Inequality, civilized behavior.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But I guess we're at almost 3 hours. Do we want to?
Yeah, we can stop it there.
Wrap it up for the day.
Yeah. So where did we stop? Where it says classical sources about Greek and Rome?
Yeah, classical sources of information.
Right on. All right, well, we'll start there next time.
Sounds good.
And did you see, if you go down just a little bit, there's prehistoric Egypt.
Oh, geez. Nice.
Which is back to that picture where we started in our first video.
Right.
But then we're going to learn more about that information. So
cool.
Yeah. So I feel that this is a good video, and I think that,
I like it. Yeah.
We addressed
I really like the tree stuff. I thought that was awesome. Yeah, I think that's super cool. But the big man stuff, that's pretty neat. Like, I didn't know anything about like Polynesia really, or Melanesia. Prehistoric farmers, like a lot of stuff you kind of know bits and pieces, right? Because it's easy to know if you live in Canada. It's easy to know that Indigenous people did things before we were here.
Americans do not think so.
No. Yeah,
a lot of Americans actually believe that this land was empty.
Yeah,
and then God had just given them this land, and then they took filled it in because it was just out horseshit.
Right, eh?
And when they found mounds and shit, well, it couldn't be the Native Americans, somebody else. Then, of course, like we already talked about with the book, that no, it was white people, and the Native Americans killed them. and so the Native Americans are the interlopers in the older civilization of white people that lived here.
Yeah,
the Great White, Hope, and was killed by all. Just
come on now. Yeah.
And buried in mounds. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Totally
nonsense.
But anyways, go ahead and tell people where they can find you.
Sure. Yeah, we didn't do a live stream last night, but usually me and my co-host Justin, we live stream every second Tuesday, and we talk about a variety of books from an anarchist and Marxist perspective. And as well, I do interviews with leftists of pretty much all types, generally, like, yeah, pretty much all types, but a lot of extra anarchists. I do extra anarchists. And me and my partner, we sometimes do a podcast called The Feminist Family, where we talk about a variety of things, around feminism and society and whatnot.
Yes, and I'm hoping that she can join us when we talk about the Bantu expansion and all the stuff that has to do with that part and that stuff in Africa.
Yeah, we'll try and get a schedule so that she can come on with us. And
yeah,
that'd be cool.
Because I think that would be cool to not just talk about it, but to have her perspective or whatever.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, take care.
Thanks. You too. That's it.
Hello, and welcome to my channel. I am Damien Marie AtHope. In the simplest terms, I am an atheist-humanist philosopher and prehistorical writer-researcher at DamienMarieAtHope.com. I am specifically an axiological atheist. An axiological atheism can be thought to involve ethical and value theory reasoned and moral argument driven apatheism, agnosticism, atheism, anti-theism, anti-religionism, secularism, and humanism. Axiological atheists can be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. As an axiological atheism's ethically reasoned and constructive pro-humanity. I am an axiological thinker, value theorist. The science of goodness, worthiness, usefulness, valuableness, virtue, reliableness, accuracy, validity, morality, integrity, beneficialness, etc., etc. We axiologists have a value consciousness. And in general, we see the architecture of humanistic humanitarianism value in people that we see as dignity beings. Places and things are not. Axiology is a value theory. In its broadest sense, it involves areas of philosophy that are deemed to encompass some evaluative or evaluation aspect. Therefore, it crosses almost all domains in some way or another. Now for a more detailed terms as to what I am. I am an axiological atheist, an anti-theist, an anti-religionist, secularist, humanist, rationalist, writer, artist, poet, philosopher, advocate, activist with schooling in psychology, sociology, as well as I am an autodidact, self-taught in science, archaeology, anthropology, and philosophy. I promote science and am against pseudoscience, pseudohistory, pseudomorality, things that are found in religion.